Patch note stream, yeah, you love those. Kind of been postponing this, but Ignition is on the way. We are waiting only about a month and a half. So in a month and a half, we will be most likely seeing all of these skill changes go immediately. That's what happened in Destiny as well, where in Destiny in the beginning, in Korea, there was one set of all the skill changes, specifically the rework for Explorer and then all the other balance changes. And then later in the Destiny update, there was another skill rebalance to kind of put more context to the changes that came in the first part of Destiny. But in GMS, we got all of that in one go. And again, in Korea, they had one major wave in the beginning, the Redux, specifically like all the classes, and then they had some tweaks middle, right? Because they have like 3 or 4 updates usually in winter and in summer in Korea. And then they have the 1.2368 with like more skill balancing for everyone. So I would expect all of the skill changes to come through in one big way. So what I'm basically going to do now is look through these 199 pages of changes. And we will check the box here on the class grid to see if the classes are going to see big buffs or big nerfs or what. Of course, all of these will have to be returned to neutral here as we go through them. Oh, and as you might imagine, there's a few classes there that where we have no info because we don't even know if anything is going to happen in other servers because the classes just simply don't exist in Korea. Make sure I stay hydrated here. Oh, most of them stayed. Did it have so many neutral in Destiny? That's crazy. It had so many neutrals because Destiny pretty much buffed all the classes, right? All right. So we have 4 no infos. Yeah. Keeps me alive. All right. Ow, I fucked up my toe. Oh, I put pressure on it with my other foot for no reason. All right, hopefully that doesn't hurt me tomorrow during climbing. All right, so I'll just go through it. Honestly, anything that changes with the beginner skills for the classes, obviously we don't give a shit. In the grand scheme of leveling the classes, it's not going to make any kind of difference. New icons, that's all well and good, but of course it doesn't really change anything either. As far as I understand, most of the differences are aesthetic, a little bit hitbox, but is aesthetic in the beginning for Dawn Warrior. And it might just make the mobbing a little bit smoother with the lines of damage and everything, even though the mobbing is already pretty good. Or actually really good. It's pretty brain dead, just jump around with the moon and just nuke everything. But of course there's the addition of the spooky things here, which should be a bunch of extra damage, an extra system, extra longer duration with the moon fragments. So when cosmic matter starts coming in, that's when this class really starts getting a whole bunch of differences from before. Consumed cosmic orb, dark matter's damage is increased by 20% points, cooldown 15 seconds. So yeah, basically you just have more orbs floating around you. So lunar time as a toggle, thank God, not as a buff right now. A lot of this is very similar to now. Mastery stuff. Third job again, just tweaks to the hitboxes more and more. And then you get with the cosmic shower. I believe this puts a skill on the ground, right? And you can weave in cosmic shower while using solar/lunar divide and cross the sticks with no cast action. So you basically just be weaving it in there. Should be nice extra damaging skill. Should give extra burst. True sight. Nothing super crazy or different here. This is all the same. And then you have one really big skill duder here, Cosmic Burst. Could also be weaved in. And just does damage over a certain amount of time. 15-second cooldown, so something to weave in a few times a minute, 4 times a minute. Cosmic Golden Shower, yes, please, daddy. Okay, chill. Nice little bind here, which... Wait, does Dawn Warrior have a bind? Did I use Dawn Warrior bind, or did I completely forget about that? I used... Bro, I don't remember. Literally the last character that Project CRA on. If it has bind, I definitely used it, okay? Did I use it? Oh god, I don't even remember if I used it. I must have. There's no way I didn't. Well, we'll see the footage in a while. The expert, the unforeseeable, yeah. This is all very similar. We've got new animations. Did anything change here? Duration 10. I just did this character recently, so Cosmic Shower buffs instead of the mobbing skills, the other mobbing skills. Extra IED, longer duration. That'll probably be nice. I did? Okay, thank you. Cosmic Forge. So on top of what it already does, it also allows you to build even more Cosmic Orbs, which means that you can get longer duration and more damage on all the skills that you activate during the Cosmic Forge. 2 different forms of the dash. And then the Glory of the Guardians. Yeah, so this will have an iframe to it, and we're getting rid of the this skill, but this skill will now be your basic attack when you're in Elysian instead. But otherwise you won't have this skill, and your iframe will be this dash instead of this skill as your iframe. So I think in general that sounds a little bit smoother, that you can get a dash and an iframe out of it. Using this as the iframe was really weird for me. Of course I didn't get used to it because I was only doing CRA, but it does seem like this might be a better way to treat the class in that sense. You can do a custom command if you want to. Solar Crypt, Solar Flash, and then Cosmos. Instead of... Yeah, so they're getting rid of the 5th job skills that basically creates more flare slashes. It did feel to me like that skill didn't really add something, like any new dimension to the character. It just did what it already did, like another time. So I think this is interesting that they're expanding the theme of the, you know, not just the sun and the moon, but also like the planets outside of it. I guess if you're a Dawn Warrior and have been for a long time, it might feel a little bit weird that the state of the character is moving that far away from what it was, but I like that. I think it'll be interesting. For 15 seconds, 900% damage 5 times up to 12 enemies periodically, and every one consumed orb the cycle. The attack cycle is decreased, so it should do... from what I heard, it makes them very, very bursty, especially if you add this, plus the possible slashes, plus this going on, plus the Elysian. Their bursts will most likely get pretty crazy compared to where it is now. I just hope that their mobbing doesn't suffer for it, right? Because their mobbing is in certain situations actually very, very good, depending on the map size and everything. So we want to keep it that way without, you know, it's not like they were suffering right now for burst, right? They were already doing very well. So if you're increasing them or improving them on something that they're already doing well, hopefully that doesn't come at the cost of decreasing something that they were, you know, maybe just okay at. You don't want to take that away. There's some V-Core changes. No more triple slash cores. Trace cut, shadow burn, and now cosmic matter. Wound shadow and light flux have been removed. But this is more just details that you can read, of course, if you play the class, to make sure that, especially if you're confirming your boost nodes now specifically for the Cygnus, that you don't go into that too hard. Okay, so this seems to me. I'm going to see if there's more. Yeah, we'll get to. I don't think there's more stuff. I think, how did I do this last time? I think I just read through it and then just did it as I went, and then just eventually scroll through the whole thing. I think that's how I did it last time. I'll keep doing that because that did work. So I would Dawn Warrior. I see that definitely as buff. I don't know if I would see it as big. I lack the info there to say. I would definitely say small buff, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes with the other characters, right? Compared to the other characters, it might turn into a big one, or it might stay small. It's all like kind of relative compared to where all the other classes are moving. And thank you for keeping the song quest going, guys. We'll just do our best. Do our best to keep those going in the background. Then Flame Wizard, basically just Blaze Wizard, of course. Some changes. There were changes to the fire. I was kind of surprised that there's a lot of different types of fire, which could make sense. Like this fire looks very, I don't know, looks very different from this fire. And I don't know why this keeps happening. That's very annoying. I guess I'll just do this. That way it doesn't happen anymore. Burn and rest. This recovers way more HP now. 1 minute cooldown and 100% recover. It's still not super useful, but it's going to recover way more, so at least a little bit more utility out of it. And there's going to be some changes with the color of the orbs. These look pretty cool now. They were looking like this, but they're all going to look more like this now. I believe this is a little bit more of an old picture. Well, we'll see. And then this fire looks very different too. They're getting their own bind on Maelstrom. That's pretty cool. The teleport, 30 crit rate, 20 critical damage, always a weakness analysis, always a nice skill. Your stance, animation changes like before. You see the fire looking more like the actual fire orbs, right? So that's what they're going to look like for all time. And then this is going to be a continuous attack type of deal, like a bursty skill in the 4th job. This one should not be underestimated. The Flame Fox, Orbital Flame, just like a short burst of like a lot of balls, fireballs shooting out. The Orbital Flame looks actually like a burning sun with the protuberances, with the solar flares. I think it looks really cool like this. Of course, another victim of skill transparency. You most likely won't be seeing that too much unless you actively turn it on and blind yourself, because it is quite bright. My screen is already quite bright because I'm in boomer light mode, but this is even brighter on there. So that's a Blazing Extinction, and then we have Inferno Rise. I like this fire effect quite a bit, but there's one other skill I think that's still common that I liked even more. 10 damage up to 15 enemies, cooldown 30 seconds. Oh yeah, the whole Inferno stack thing is gone, right? And Inferno Rise Flame Fox. Different type of mode, 30-second cooldown. Spirit of Flame, summon an incarnation of flames using your element as a medium. When you use this skill, the Fire Line will be summoned. If you use the skill with the down arrow key, the Flame Fox will be summoned instead. 300 seconds, increase MP cost to 105% and defense ignored by 30%. And then we have our Flaming Pizza. It kind of looks more like you're summoning a demon now, actually, but... Oh, I think only one of those song requests might have gone through here. Looks like Widowmaker's song got requested. I don't know if Yo-Yo Kami's song went through here. Let me check the list for you real quick. No, it didn't go through. I think you guys typed it at exactly the same time. Why are they adding more skills that use the down arrow function? That's an interesting question, but they typically want it to not be the case that you need multiple skills, but they want to give individual skills more functionality. What they do for some skills is they give you like the ability to right-click it in the skill tab, and then it works a certain way, and then if you right-click it again, like you turn it on or off, it activates in a certain way. But if you want to be able to use it in both of the ways in the same situation, like both in mobbing or both in bossing, then it's kind of annoying that you would have to open up your skill window to switch the modes, and without adding like a whole different skill. So this way you can have multiple ways of getting utility out of a skill and fit the kit situation better in where they are situationally, give you more abilities without needing to, with the minimum amount of adjustments that you need to make, basically. Still annoying. I like it. I mean, if you're prone to like spamming your arrow keys every which direction, then maybe. But I like it better than trying to. I don't know. I like it. I think it's a good thing. So this is the attack speed, 60% damage for 30 seconds. Cooldown 45 seconds. If the magic circle disappears before its total duration, the cooldown will be decreased by 1 second per 1 second remaining on its duration, up to a maximum of 15 seconds. So with the buff duration, you get 100% uptime here. Flame Barrier. Defends up against 10 critical status effects. Pretty big on a 3-minute cooldown. There's the magic attack. This is all your passive buff stuff. And I don't think... Oh, I think some stuff's changed here with the hypers, because I'm pretty sure there was some dot stuff in there that they removed, because that dot is or the dot is gone, but like the I don't remember what it was called, but there was like a thing where you, what was it called, ignition? I think it was called ignition, right? So part of ignition is that they removed the ignition mechanic, basically. Oh yeah, this is the fire. That's pretty cool, but then again, if you pause it, if you really look at the logo with like the circle on the bottom and then the spread eagle wings up top, it's a little sus. It's a little sus. But we'll just, you know, pass right by that. Sadly, all of these animations have been scuffed a little bit, but this is Cataclysm. As much as Cataclysm used to blind you before, it's going to do that even more now. Third Mihail? Yeah. Say Mihail. Cataclysm, Glory of Guardians. We all know that. Why is that a song that you guys are requesting? This is gonna show up. This better not be weird. This better not be weird. Better not be weird. Was that Paramore? No. Wait, what does it go? Wait, huh? Huh? Why is it in reboot progression? Oh god. Did they add the last one to reboot progression advice? No. What? Why did it disappear here? Why was it? You guys saw it, right? It was gone. It wasn't in the spot where it's supposed to be. Interesting. That is new. Ooh, 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 ooh. All right. Blazing Orbital Flame, big ass skill, just cool new animation. Flame Discharge. I love that word. Hopefully they renamed that. But what is this called now? It's not called Flame Discharge, right? It's called like Flame Whip or something. I don't remember exactly. Passive effect, active effect. This big old boy. I believe they changed the cooldown and the rate with which I believe you're not going to be bursting as long with it and be dealing your damage quicker with it. This is a general move that they made as well during Destiny for the Explorers. Is just to allow people to get their burst out a little bit faster and to not be stuck in one place as long, especially not if that skill that you're holding down is not an iframe like this one. It doesn't even give you reduced incoming damage, but it does give you 50% crit rate and IED though, which is of course nice on those big ass bursts. What is that logo in the middle? Jesus! Cutting it really close now, huh? Okay. Salamander Mischief. Next on literally playing with fire, true. And then Salamander Mischief was, I believe, tweaked a bit to deal damage in a different way, but a little bit more reliable as well. 90-second cooldown, I believe that's still the case. I played this character a long time ago for Project CRA. This one as well, yeah, it's like, we only have, we're gonna do like a repeating thing. It's gonna be like an angle. So like, oh, we could take 4 of them. It'll fit. Oh, let's do 3. Yeah, let's do 3. 3 is better. Let's do 3. And some core changes. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and think that for Blaze Wizard, I feel hopeful. Compared to where they are now, and Selfbind and everything, I feel hopeful. We'll see when it actually gets here, but I'm hopeful. Alright, Windbreaker. They changed, I think, the skills early on in the game, and a little bit on how they work. I saw walk here. I saw Windwalk. Walk. They changed the colors of the animations quite a bit. They were tweaking between like a light green, a dark green. You can still see here that the picture of the lady here is still very dark green in the logo, but then the actual skill animation is quite light actually. Used to play pretend. Let me zoom in a little bit more. I just noticed on the preview how small it is. Triflin wins. This skill as well was really dark green here, and then they changed it to lighter green. I hope they're going to not do the thing like with Dual Blade where the skill icon is eventually not changing to what the skill changed to, and the skill icon and the skill are now going to be incongruent, but we'll wait and see. This one as well, it chose to go for a lighter color after the darker logo. But yeah, this is the one that gives you the IED, I think, right? Yeah, IED debuff over the boss. And in general, like with all the things that we saw coming out of Korea, all the debuffs in the game have been made to last way longer, so you don't have to rebuff nearly as often. Of course, having to repeatedly debuff is extremely annoying, especially when you're doing it a lot of times preemptively because you don't even really know. Nice. You don't even really know that. New animations for everything, even not necessary. Even if it wasn't necessary. Emerald Flower, very, very strong skill, of course. Don't use it on Akechi, you will have a bad time. All the same new animations. Fairy Turn also was made to look a little bit more dark green, but they decided to go for the light green after the Tespia release, or in the official server release after Tespia version was more dark green. Of course, this skill very nice. And their attempt was basically to try to make people stop using a third job skill, or I believe it was a third job skill, right? But moving into fourth job because people liked it more to mob with. So it would make more sense that people are actually using fourth job skills to mob instead of third job. Then, of course, we have Song of Heaven, a new animation. And then the Stormbringer. One thing that's really weird, though, and the main thing that they tried for Wind Archer is to actually give it burst. Right now, it's pretty much exclusively DPM class. Oh, it was second job even. Okay. That makes it even more a thing that they were trying to move it up. One of the weird things was that, so that they basically didn't have burst as Wind Archers, and they really tried to give them burst. In giving them burst, though, they basically, and you see the Fairy Turn here, hyper skills. They made the Stormer, which I believe is now a full uptime skill. They made it a 30-second skill with 2-minute cooldown. Of course, same duration as Vicious Shot, synchronization with that. but it almost felt, initially reading it and reading the initial Wind Archer comments, that it almost seemed like, hey, you guys have a lot of DPM and no bursts, so we're going to take one of your DPM skills and then take it away and then make it a burst skill instead, so now that you have burst. And it's like, but now we're like bursting for our DPM. But what they also added was the Monsoon was changed, but they changed the 5th job skill Tornado quite a bit, in the fact that you can now have 2 big old tornadoes blown around. And Vortex Sphere, I believe, was recolored, of course, but so you can, if you have the full charges here, you can consume 3 wind energies, and then you can have 1 small tornado and a large tornado together. So to definitely have more burst. Swordbringer was brought into 4th job. Kind of, but like a weaker version of it, if I remember correctly. While attacking, 30% chance to summon a giant arrow that deals 380% damage. Yeah. But yeah, so they should actually have burst now, which for all the Wind Archers, rejoice, woohey! And I believe for our dear friend with the down arrows, there's even more memes here. So if you can use the skill with the down arrow key to consume. If you just press it, you use 1 energy. If you use it with the down arrow, you use 2 energy. And if you use skill with the up arrow, then you consume 3 wind energy to summon 2 gusts. So 1, 2, 3. Run regular, 2 with down, 3 with up. So for bursting, you're most likely going to be used 2 or 3 depending on the timing of the burst, and then if you're mobbing, you just always use the skill as regular. Sounds like oh, I know who this is. I have to look it up though. Yeah, Porter Robinson, yeah. So it would be cool. Yeah, I just remember in the beginning, Kendall, that the people who were playing the class were kind of like, wait, why did they do that? It almost felt like they just took our skill away and then only gave it back to us temporarily. Spiral Vortex was boosted. Yeah, so they boosted Spiral Vortex harder and then Fairy Turn less. But you'll probably still keep using it and still keep boosting it, but they increased the damage, of course, because they moved it from a 2nd job skill to a 4th job skill, and because it is a 4th job skill, it's only going to be boosted 2%. Spiral Vortex had hyper skills now to be boosted, but instead those are now Fairy Turn skills. Fairy Turn is probably not going to be the name, but these are the names in Korea, so they are the names in the patch notes. I think Wind Archer is already in a pretty good spot, so I don't know if I could call this like big buff, but I will put small buff because I do think this will help the class, especially with like late game, end game bossing. But if you already have it as a bossing mule, I don't know if it's going to make huge impact. It would be cool if it did. If your investment in a bossing mule in a Wind Archer would pay off even early on, that would be nice. But like the utility of the tornadoes and everything, yeah, maybe that will help out. Now Nightwalker changed the most compared to where it is now. Plus, I have the very low skill level with Nightwalker. It was surprisingly easy with the low level of skill that I had to be able to do Project CRA with it. I thought I was going to struggle a lot because of the jump animation stuff and the sticky keys and all of that. Like I'd never really delve deep into that and try to optimize that, so I thought it was going to be absolute hell. But Windwalker, nice. Nightwalker, way more playable for low hands player like myself than I initially thought. So that was nice. But I believe a lot of what they are changing is that jump attacking that they wanted to make not necessary, right, by taking the final damage away from jump attack and adding it as a passive instead. Was still kept with the previous gameplay because of the amount of attacks you could get out, plus maintaining the mobility. So they wanted the bats to start doing way more work, and you as your main character not having to do as much work. So the bats will start hitting things and spreading out instead of you having to just move around as much and putting the bats near the monsters. The bats will just start like spreading like an actual like flock. It's Morbin time, in other words. I don't remember what the dark side changes were specifically, so let's see if You can move while in the air with a rapid throw. Type skill attacks, last attacks as well. You cannot be knocked back by any enemy stats while moving. After learning Dark Side, if you use this skill during the Dark Side, will be applied automatically for a short time. When used while using throwing type skills, enter Dark Side for 2 seconds. If you had a percentage HP attack with the automatically activated Dark Side, the duration will be decreased by 20% of its maximum amount. I mean, who cares? You're tanking stuff, right? Second job attack, triple throw. Stardust. It's crazy to see second and third job skills now that were basically fourth job skills when they first came out, just because of power creep and the time that's gone by. It's really it's really quite something. Ow! I just hit my microphone really hard. Hopefully that wasn't loud. It looked on OBS like it was loud, my bad. Let me know if my microphone sounds weird now. That's happened before. Okay. Attack speed stuff. The bats communication, increasing their damage, darkness adapting, 35 crit rate, 10% critical damage. Wasn't loud, still sound great. Thank you. To that. And then we get our quadruple throw. Shadow Servant. You can see him spooky here in between the bats. I think it's a really cool effect. Again, one of those that you probably won't see as much because of skill transparency being turned on, but really nice. Summon Shadow for 3 minutes. That copies all of your throwing star skills with 70% final damage. Our dear friend. This is our door, I believe. If Shadow Bats and Revenant's Bats were summoned, consume them all to recover an additional 10% per bat. You will be invincible while recovering HP and for 2 seconds after the skill ends. And then we have Shadow Momentum. We've got the bats building up. When you move a certain distance, acquire momentum for 20 seconds. So it's still going to require you to move around a lot, but benefit you from it. So depending on what stack you're at, you'll see a better icon over your head. This is that final damage skill. Too much text to read. A lot of numbers. We've gone through all of this already, so I'm just like glancing over everything now. So if I remember, the main thing is the quintuple throw. Darkness Omen, I believe, is not changed as much, but should be as spammable or maybe even more. Oh yeah, so Shadow Stitch, the bind is actually a bind now. Gets basically getting a little bit of the same treatment as the Urda Nova, which of course, you know, also was not a great bind. AKA was a horrible bind. Still staying at 3 minutes, but the way that it hits, better. And bind duration will be increased by 1 second per half a second of condensing, up to a maximum of 12 seconds. But the standard is 10, so but you can technically make it up to 12 seconds if you want to. Then the Ravenous Bats. Summon those bats. Maybe if I had a little bit of Ignition, Nightwalker. Yeah. A little bit of gameplay for Nightwalkers. Mr. Orange Mushroom himself. Of course, it's a little bit difficult like this to like really see. Oh yeah, you could like, yeah, you can like change where it is and you can teleport towards it and then switch positions with it basically. with your shadow. It's got to be more down arrow action, I believe. Mastery, your Siphon. Darkness Blessing. ID Stance. Avoid damage reduction. Oh, those Siphon skills are still here. I was hoping that those would turn into kind of like better hypers. The Siphon ones feel a little bit weak, but... Increased by 9. Shadow Illusion. Now you see three sets of eyes in here. Summon 3 shadows for 30 seconds and copy all of your throwing star skills with 70, 50, and 30% final damage, respectively, hopefully. Here you get your Dominion, new animation. Glory of the Guardians. Spear, I believe they worked on the damage number and then the amount of hits, because the main thing was that there were just too many triggers of the spears and that was lagging people too much, so instead it's gonna trigger less but do more damage, something like that, I believe. Or no, I believe the amount of lines of damage went down, I believe, because then it would be like walls and walls of damage that needed to be animated, but instead it's just going to be fewer amounts, because the damage cap is so high anyway. There's no chance of really capping on it anyway. Should make a change at some point as well. Just it's used to put a binding AoE down like Shade does. Oh no, Shadow Stitch is not like it's not like that. I feel like Shadow Stitch is closer to the Ho Young bind, where you kind of like send it and then hopefully it hits, kind of thing. That's how I always remembered using it. To your mama. I feel like Shades is still the same as it is now. You put a puddle on the ground, and then you wait until to walk into it, split, and then nuke it. Well, and make sure the debuffs are on, I guess. Shadow Servant, yeah, we saw that one in action. And then Shadow Bite. I think a cool new animation. And you see the big ol' attack with the giant rapid throw, of course. Maybe you can see a rapid throw used here. Bam. Gotta say, like I like the art for most of the Cygnus Knights. I think it's really cool. Nightwalker is undeniably cool art for the skills and everything. This one is really hard for me to gauge. Again, I will kind of like cop out and put it on small buff. I don't know how huge this is going to be for gameplay. Actual Cygnus Knights who can put way more context to these numbers and everything, especially back when we went over it, and this is part of also why I've been postponing this as long. I haven't really seen as much feedback from the class who played it as much. Could do a little bit of a deeper dive, I guess, into the Discords, but then again, you run again into the problem that I'm banned from a bunch of the Discords for trying to make content for players, which is a little bit unfortunate. Specifically for the Cygnus Knights for some reason. I don't know if that's what has to do with if there's a pattern there. But yeah, I can only like interpret it to the best of my abilities like that. I sadly can't use their expertise for this, which I know is definitely way more insightful, but if they won't let me, use it as input, then I can't, sadly. Thunderbreaker. The biggest thing I remember from Thunderbreaker is that they made the shark thinner compared to Tespia. and you're going to be weaving skills even harder, and then there is a sea wave orb that floats around and hits monsters off the screen. That is the biggest difference I remember. Which class would be better to get started on as a main, Shatterer or Demon Slayer? Demon Slayer more as a simpler character probably. It's got more solid foundation, I would say. If you're just starting out with absolutely nothing, Demon Slayer is going to be easier to progress on than a Shatterer. Shatterer will need a little bit better gameplay and just more skilled gameplay. Has good crit rate. IED, I think, needs a little bit of help if you have absolutely nothing on your account. But they have a few skills that have good built-in IED, so for those skills you don't. Baby Shark? Was that Baby Shark to you? We got Primal Bolt. God of the Sea, Shamu. Slamming the water. We got Lightning Cascade. This is Daddy Shark. Shark Torpedo, of course, amazing. The one thing I always found when playing Thunderbreaker is that I always hoped that the skill hitbox would be vertically less challenged. On the shark, it just feels so bad throwing out a shark and then it going like just a millimeter over all the mobs and hitting absolutely none of them. It just didn't feel good. Just only like 30% crit. Is it really that low? I thought visually you wanted 40 or something? Oh, 35, is that enough? Okay, and then the Lightning God Spear, I think they made it, yeah, to make it automatic or not, so you have a little bit more control over the Lightning God Spear just poking out somewhere and doing absolutely no damage. So you have more utility on that thing. And then I believe the Lightning Spear Multi-Strike was also made to be a little bit cooler. I don't know how to use this skill properly. I would have to read the whole thing and thank you. And then try a whole bunch of stuff, because apparently you can like weave in a whole bunch of skills, and depending on how many of them you do, you'll get extra bonus attacks. The main problem I had, of course, just going into Thunderbreaker for a little bit, just for Project CRA, is that I just want to do enough to be able to kill the boss and then probably never play the class again. But one of the major things is, of course, figuring out where to put the buttons and which kind of combinations you like using in different scenarios. And that's not something that I put enough time into the character to really discover. So it was really difficult to use this skill properly because of the weaving other attacks in, knowing exactly where those buttons were and which attacks I wanted to weave in was something that I didn't really want to... oh, that's going to be an interesting one. Was something that I didn't get to play enough. But yeah, so any of the Cygnus players that want to weigh in... I'll put the Thunderbreaker at least on small buff as well. I feel like it's on the same level as the other ones. I want to... Man. It's hard to say if it's a big buff or Wind Archer, because I feel like I still kind of somewhere in the back of my head still underrate them. But I'm like doubting if it's between like small and large nerf. Yeah. So 50, okay, so 50%, okay. But yeah, that extra sea wave was made a little bit better throughout Ignition, so hopefully we get the improved version immediately. And then we have Mihail. What was the main thing changed with Mihail again? Oh boy, my memory. Trying to check with my boomer memory. Royal Guard. Successfully defend while the attack buff is active. The counter attack's damage, attack range, and the attack buff will gradually increase. Yep. One, two, three times? Wait, is it maxed at 3 now? Now it's maxed at 5 times, right? Complete the Redux find damage that causes for 4 seconds, nullify damage counter attack after counter attack. Your attack is increased for 20 seconds. Yeah, 4 seconds of invincibility, 6-second cooldown. Oh yeah, so it seems like you're just going up to 3 stacks alone. Oh, maybe the stacks increases as you level up. That's maybe there's like a empowered soul assaults. I don't think Mihail was ever really struggling. Vertical shining chase, pretty really just taking this one and putting it sideways. I don't know about that one. It feels a little lame when an up jump is literally just a side jump that is that is like turned 90 degrees. I wish they kind of did something a little different, but I guess that's just the theme they've been going for. Soul release, over soul release, magic crash. We've seen that one. Soul link, advanced royal guard. There we go with the 4 and the 5 times. That explains. Now. All right. 60 strength, 20% critical rate, 23% final damage, 1 attack speed. Just your standard third job skill. In my shadow. Offensive light. Look at this Pico. Tell me he's broke. 4th job, new animations. Shining Cross. Animation was changed, and I think the utility was changed a little bit on it, right? And then Shining Cross Assault. It's a Soul Light skill. Four times and up to 7 enemies, and this is 10 times and up to 12 enemies. Okay. Depending on what kind of content you're doing. Soul Rage. Install shield. So they finally get their own little ice lightning summon. To kind of counteract that more limited mobility, right? So you can still get around the map, clear the map faster. Good old 40% defense ignore. Nice Kaiser skill there. Royal Guard skills. And then install shield buffs. Was it more 10 more second duration? Dude, the whole like, you're just gonna ask me and then I'm just gonna Google it. You're an adult. You just Google it and you figure it out. Like, don't me Google it for you. That's such a true thing, dude. Soul Majesty, Deadly Charge, getting some big old skills with some big old lines of damage. Sadly, this makes it even look more like a Paladin. I thought they were going to use this ability, this opportunity to make sure that the Paladin and the Mihail, didn't look too similar on certain things. Especially since they made the Paladin like completely yellow and shiny, just like the Paladin was. And then they kind of changed this skill to look more like the Paladin steaming with the blast. It does look cool though, but big old shiny dome. I think this is called Shield of Light, I believe. Successfully advance against enemy attacks and status effects. The shield will gradually break into 3 stages. Each stage can defend up to 9, 14 times. When attack and the status effect are applied at the same time, The defense limit will only be decreased by 1. And then we have Sword of Light. After using the skill, Royal Guard's attack buff's duration will be increased by 6 seconds. The maximum number of stacks cannot be exceeded. Sag. Oh no, this is Sword of Light. Oh, Sword of Soul Light. My bad, my bad. Oh yeah, true. Yeah, while Sword of Light is equipped, you can use Soul Light Slash by pressing the basic attack. So it empowers your main attack in the same way that the Dawn Warrior does its bursts, basically. Light of Courage. For 25 seconds, increase your damage by 22%. Create a shield for each party member equal to 265% of their own maximum HP. Giant shield. Lasts for 12 seconds, and the shield amount will be decreased by 7% every 1 second. You still keep a whole big shield. It's only got a 90-second cooldown, so a nice extra way of keeping everybody alive. Which I believe this skill already existed, but, you know, I believe this animation is quite different, because I don't recognize that from a long time ago. But again, Project CRA, still need to do Mihail. We only have Mihail, Paladin, and Aaron left. Just those last 3. And then core changes. Okay. I guess just getting the extra summon. I don't know if, like, thematically nothing much changed, and I don't think the damage numbers were moved around that much. But getting the extra summon, of course, is a nice thing. Is a nice touch. So I'll definitely put them at least at small buff. But again, Mihail is also, in general, I wonder if it's just me not playing that much Cygnus ever. Because I'm thinking, like, when did I actually legitimately took a Cygnus character and played it for a decent duration, and not just for, like, just to get some levels and then log out? I think never. Like, I randomly tried Lotus or Damien on a Wind Archer once because I was like, oh, this character... Oh, after Project CRA, I was like, oh, this character could do CRA so easily. I could probably do this. And then I got absolutely dumpstered, of course, because no prep. And for some reason thinking that if you could do CRA, then Lotus and Damien is super easy, as if there aren't a whole bunch of bosses in between there. But other than that, I don't think I've ever really taken the character seriously. That's the downside, of course, of having 49 classes in the game. You could be pretty proficient with like 4 or 5 classes, but that still leaves more than 40 classes that you don't really know the ins and outs of, sadly. Bigger projects coming soon, okay? We're going to get closer and closer to trying to reach the limits of the classes and just play more diverse, but it's a slow build up, you know? Anything times 50 is a lot. All right, then we have some skill changes. Maximum number of coins created limit has been improved to be applied separately for each dimension in Will Phase 1. Getting rid of that red cross. Adele and Ilium and Arc can use Hero's Will while using other skills. Oh, chill! So I can actually be bursting on my Arc and then slam Hero's Will, so I don't have to, or at least Flora's Will, so I don't have to get sealed or darkened while I'm holding down a key. Arc buff, shit class. Of course, this is like small utility thing extra. I wouldn't. That's not enough to give it like a buff in the grid. Skill fixes, we'll go over these pretty quickly, see if there's anything major here that would really give quality of life to a class. This is also part of the second update here, the 12367, but again, no inclination to think that this won't come out immediately when Ignition comes out, probably all going to be part of one batch. You can no longer try to use the soul skill command while it's on cooldown, okay. Ignition by following skills where a character was resurrected, certain experience buff effects would disappear, okay. Feature by crest of the solar would disappear when changing channels. Warrior's fixation when if she changed channels while weapon orb is active, the first activated Warrior's wave attack would not be applied. Shot completion effect would not be displayed after changing channels. Yeah, I mean, for bossing and for mobbing, it's not really going to do much. You're not changing channels the whole time. Where after choosing upper charge with the mouse, after a second job, dragging the mouse would display the common skill icon. Yeah, these are like very small things that sometimes don't even affect your gameplay. It's just like minor tweaks that technically have something to do with skills. Where sometimes you could not bond with the last party member you bonded with. Yeah, so for Paladin, that might have been like a really annoying thing. That's nice that that's fixed. Yeah. Fixed an issue where the Beholder Shock 3 was displayed as 2 skills in the battle analysis. Okay, so that's clustered now. That's nice. Mana wave. You move slightly forward while using it. Okay. I mean, it's just mana wave though, right? Memory trace unstable memory. If you've not chosen a skill with a guide message will now be displayed. If you have not chosen a skill with memory choice, it will no longer consume MP. Fixing memory trace. Okay. Activate Avengers of the Holy Founders of the fix an issue with charge arrow. Okay, you focus. Fix an issue where you could not crouch while using charged arrow. Oh, we can now duck with charged arrow? Pog, dude. Or not now, but like on November 16th, right? Is when we're expecting this update. City barrier or something relic gauge could be consumed multiple times. Okay, that's not good. You need that relic gauge. Vision where if you use triple throw and quadruple throw continuously in place, the skill use action would happen even if the attack was not activated. Oh, so it looked like you were still attacking even if you weren't? Yeah, that's not good. Because then you're losing a whole lot of damage without even realizing it. Right now, I'm ready to go right now. Okay, shadow fixation where you could not use consumable items immediately after using Meso Explosion. Okay, that's probably also something that's just a little bit annoying. I mean, if you use it, everyone's really just relying on auto buff, so that's probably not going to be as impactful. Feature bar, if you went to a map where you could not use skills while using Bullet Party, it would continue to attack. Huh. Long way cancel instantly if the hotkeys were used continuously. Feature bar cancels while harvesting. The harvesting action would be cancelled. Feature you could deactivate a master by using the skill again. Fixing an issue where Legion Raid or Soul Masters would not use any skills. I feel like you still would do the damage in the Legion Raid though, even if your character is physically not attacking, right? Parker is dropping berserks on his hero. He has spare on his hero? Damn. What a situation to be in. I could use Firewalk. I mean, I would just keep them until later, until it becomes a project, and then just boom them, but 2 on his hero. Damn. I don't even want to do hard loose and hard will on my hero because I don't want to accidentally get him. Like I have before, I know I can, but I don't want to accidentally get some on my hero. If I get any, I want it to be on my Dia or on my Arc. Okay, Nightwalker. Oh, sorry. Fixation would sometimes push monsters multiple times. Okay, our appearance didn't change the amounts immediately after equipment. Momentum effect was displayed awkwardly. Okay, the same thing as the Night Lord with attacking in place. Mihail's shield without having a soul shield equipped. Okay, so that's not supposed to be possible. But remember, resisted by an attack. Well, I feel like you can't use any of your skills if you don't have a soul shield, right? Have a Light of Courage and Souling Shield at the same time for Mihail. Light of Courage's shield would disappear. Deadly charges. Okay, so I'm thinking that most of these issues probably shouldn't be a thing because they might be part of what happened in the patch before this, and if we're getting both of those at the same time, we won't even notice that these things were issues before. You can drop items. Other people just won't be able to see it. Cleber skill description have been changed to be more accurate. Kamaka did not stack when the first attacking after logging in. Okay. DUT special effects were not immediately affected by skill effect or spicy changes. So the video would not rush forwards after floating with blink. Oh. Okay, that's a little weird. Teams had second, third, fourth hit could not hit monsters that could be hit with a basic attack key. Oh, so you couldn't. Oh, you couldn't hit the monster. You couldn't hit, open up your box with the with the demon slash. Okay. Demon Avenger where soul shield charge, which has no business still being in the game, and exceed demon strikes rushes could be cancelled using demon jump. Oh, that's weird. The rest of your skill description has been changed to be more accurate. Fixation where the black mark's attacks would activate 15 times, then consume the mark even during abyssal lightning. Huh. Jet boosters deployment. Okay. No one to DDoS your client, so you lose the berserks. It didn't work. Good job. Staying alive. Fiction revolving bunker will sometimes not track the enemy with the highest max HP. Kaiser double lever did not output skill sound effects during final configuration. Fiction use teleport and final configuration. Oh, is this the one song that's unavailable? Video is unavailable. HP sometimes will a sword's attack did not apply. RIP. It was I thought it was a little bit tricky with Kaiser, like spamming the skills. It didn't always fire properly when I wanted to, or activate a little bit late. At least the 5th job skills. The explosion duder. Stress with output the same direction effect on the characters. If you reuse Thanatos Ascent at the same time as dying, the area of death would not be activated, but the effect would be output. Well, man, I mean, arc trouble with Abyssal as well. Oh boy. Are we good? Are we back? That's a gun. Well, in for a penny, in for a pound. Get then a weapon variety, additional hit, summon, releasing bomb, explosion attack, and AD ordnance. Fire orb were no longer cancelled. Dark side, fixed an issue where the chain arts takedowns damage dealt to the monster hit was applied after delay instead of immediately. No longer cancelled dark side. Oh, that seems pretty nice. Skill description of the following skills have been changed to be more accurate. Chain arts, chase. Is Noah here? Is this enough to constitute like a small buff or no? Raining dump pendants, 2 on my fire poison beam. Damn! People getting drops left, right, and center. I'll tentatively put a small buff here, but I think that gets sealed with other stuff later, so we'll see. If you turn dressing mode will no longer be cancelled. If you level dressing mode, blah blah blah. Rolling assault while harvesting would cancel the harvesting. Alpha attack will output basic effects, just the effects. Nobody cares. Skill description be more accurate. Second is fix an issue where objects would not be thrown if Psychic Tornado's duration ended while using Rope Connect. Okay. Cutscenes appeared. Okay. Oh, cutscenes appeared awkwardly if Spectre mode ended while in certain quest cutscenes. Big whoop. Alright, and then the balancing from the end of Ignition. Hyper skills may improve so that they apply cooldown reduction effects. However, they will not apply to the following skills. Oh yeah, cooldown reduction on hypers. True. Not on the iframes by the looks of it. Not on hyper iframes, but everything else gets cooldown reduction on hyper skills now. This is a nice buff for classes who have short cooldown, just over 10-second cooldown hypers. If I'm not forgetting, like the Mihail's skill, for example, I believe that's like 12-second, going from 12 to 10. That's always juicy. What about my hypers on this guy? This 8 seconds. Yeah. That's not gonna do much. They did mention the Ilium iframe. Oh, that's a hyper too? Isn't that duration based on the stacks? No, it does not. Wait, what? I guess they didn't mention that one specifically. Interesting. Skills that overload mana applies to have been expanded. Apparently, I don't know why this was, but apparently to some skills, the mana overload just didn't work. It just didn't affect the damage. Including Zodiac Ray of of Evan, which is like their biggest burst skill. I don't know why it didn't work on that. And on some of the bursts for Archmage as well, the Fury of Afraid. And not on a Thunder Spear either, so this will be a nice little buff on those skills for those classes. I mean, it's like 10% final damage on your burst, basically, right? On some of these bursty skills, Psychic Round 2, Grim Reaper. This looks for Evan worthy to mention. We'll see what the other ones do. How much of your damage comes from Thunder Sphere? I mean, Infinity is going to come in anyway, so it's still going to be a small nerf. At least a small nerf for these classes. Overload mana for subs that didn't have HP MP consumed has been decreased from 0.5 max HP to 0.3. Pretty small. So this one gives blessings now. This one is a weird skill now. I don't think I like this change, but this has to do with changing some of the classes from being a 4-minute to being a 2-minute or a 3-minute. You prepare one blessing every 180 seconds. As the same cooldown now, but you can hold up to 2 blessings or something. But the cooldown is the same. So like, Arc goes from 4-minute burst class to a 2-minute, right? So before the boss fight, you'll make sure that you have 2 blessings beforehand. And then in your first 2-minute, you use one. On your second 2-minute, you'll still only have one because you're still halfway charging your next blessing. So in the second 2-minute, you'll use your second one. Then on the third 2-minute, you'll have your first blessing back. But then on your fourth 2-minute burst, you won't have the Maple Goddess blessing. So you'll be able to use it a little bit more for the people with 4-minute burst, but still not every single time. You'll be able to use it basically every 4 minutes, like normal, with the exception that you'll have one extra use in there somewhere. You'll have one extra choice where you can do double. Demiurge of Destruction, so instead of activating sometimes for 15% final damage, now it just always gives 10%. And the Aeon of Creation, range has been increased by about 20%, the attack range. Genesis Aura's hit timing has been decreased by about 37%. The effect will now match the direction the character is facing. Fixed issue where the effect will display it awkwardly. So that it is still a nerf. In terms of damage that you're outputting, it's still a nerf, yeah. Although they have fixed some of that recently, or are in the current test beta, they're trying to rectify that, specifically for arc burst output. The limit on install skills that could not be installed overlapping each other, that's just, you know, it's just memes. The skills that deal different damage based on the number of enemies being attacked have been improved. Yeah, we went over all of that, but basically if you would deal a certain percentage based on targets hit, they've just made it do the same damage to everyone hit now. So if we go through the descriptions of all the skills, it might seem that some skills damage went like way up, but they made it so that it usually stayed the same as what it is now, but just a blanket damage amount, so that the weird effect of like dealing more bonus damage if fewer enemies get hit, that just doesn't make any sense. They just removed that completely from the game, essentially. And then a big one for everyone, Urda Shower. Skill has been improved so that action delay has been decreased by about 19%. You can use Urda Shower with the down arrow key now to summon an Urda Fountain filled with pure Urda for 60 seconds with a cooldown of 60 seconds. And when you defeat 12 enemies, the collected Urda will explode, dealing 825% damage 4 times on up to 10 enemies. And that attack has no cooldown. So if you're just constantly going around the map and attacking, every single time you're like killing monsters, it will just be an explosion, and you'll have your own summon basically that you can put in somewhere in the map for all the classes. So hero, this is when they were moving their iframe, right? Oh no, the final damage. They moved the final damage to... Cooldown has been increased from 20 to 25. So now increases final damage equal to the boost from 6 combo counters for 8 seconds. Yeah. So they moved that here. And then the Burning Soul sword no longer gets moved around. Yeah. And then the combo instinct to 20 seconds instead of 30. So I remember that being, I don't know if it's like small or large, but definitely a buff on heroes. It definitely helped them with mobbing. They go from having one summon that disables if they go too far from it to now having 2 summons that never get removed. That's pretty nice for them. Paladin, increased range. You can bind more often. You're gonna reuse the blast hammers to stop the attack. Mjolnir. Oh yeah, the Mjolnir change was decent, I think. Repair more hammers. You can hold 3 instead of 2, so that increase your burst as well. I think that's good enough for small. Which probably means that I would put Wind Archer to large, I think. But that's specifically if you're looking for burst. Plus, I want the Wind Archer to be greener than the other ones because it's a green class. Dark Knight Impale, attack range of 9%. Duration for Dark Thirst decreased from 30 seconds to 25. The cooldown has been decreased from 120 to 90. That's mainly just quality of life. It's not like... But again, Dark Knights were performing really well, so they probably weren't trying to buff that. It's under exclamation mark classes. If you look at the final column right here, it's under here. I can give you the link now, of course, because I have it open. But in the future, that's always where it's going to be. So neutral for Dark Knight, okay, and then 1.3.398.2. I don't know. So Infinity final damage boost can only go up to 115. I heard that for most players in the game, it doesn't really go past 130%, maybe up to 135 in like extremes. And the same thing happened, of course, to the Demon Avengers, like at the most low possible point of their HP. I don't know how extreme these nerfs are. We could say like huge nerf as if that doesn't mean that the class is dead, of course. And we can also say big buff that doesn't necessarily... It just means compared to the other buffs, it doesn't necessarily mean that the class is now like number 1 in DPS or something, right? It's always relative to how big everything else is getting buffed and relative to how strong they already were. Rip on Infinity actually being Infinity. I guess relatively that's big. Relatively. Relative to the other tweaks that we're seeing. Because, as we know, in general, they're trying to bring up all the classes to the same point, right? Just call it Finity now. And I call unreliable memory, just call it like boomer memory. Oh, we're getting lower into the file, so like a lot more of the skills here aren't loaded properly. I believe... I don't know if in a different load you'll see more of the pictures, but they should all be there. If you open up the file. Fire, poison, attack range has been moved upwards. They made quite some changes. Poison arrow explosion has been increased from 195, 182% to 5. Damage of a hit. The number of hits has been decreased from 5 to 4. Poison arrow explosion deals 30% increased damage when attacking normal monsters. So poison region was tweaked a bit. Final damage boost has been... Well, they're already on large nerf, so it doesn't really matter what else they say here, but... Elemental reset, final damage boost decreased from 50 to 40, so... Amount of explosions... I think they made Poison Chain a better skill, but they had to tweak the numbers. And there's a lot of decreases in there, but I think they made it a better skill. If I remember correctly from reading it before. So Poison Crystal can be... Skill 1 time up to 3 can exist. The Poison Crystal's duration has been decreased from 10 to 5. The number of explosion activations has been decreased from 22 to 17. Explosions are activated when the skill ends and disappeared are not included in this limit. Infection range has been decreased by about 6%. Okay, sounds like... Looks exclusively worse. Never mind. Ice Lightning. The fixed orb duration was increased from 50 to 60 seconds. The attack interval 10% to make it the same as a fixed orb. The maximum number of enemies hit by the non-fixed orb has been increased from 5 to 6. The non-fixed orb's number of hits has been increased from 1 to 3. So, compared to... So, like, if you're in a boss fight that's quite a bigger map and you don't have the time to, like, fix the sphere... or if you fix the sphere, the boss just walks away from it and can't be hit anymore. You won't be punished as much for just keeping it unfixed and having it follow you around. Specifically, like, you know, Hard Lucid Phase 2 and that kind of stuff where there's a pretty big map and there's a lot of area where the boss can go where you can't hit. Same nerf to the final damage here. Ice Aura cast action has been removed. Vortex duration has been increased from 15 to 30 seconds. That's actually quite nice. And the feature of damage being based on the number of enemies has been made gone. This counters a little bit the nerfs of the other ones, whereas I feel like the Fire Poison changes are nerfs on top of the change to Infinity, whereas the Ice Lightning seems a little bit buffed in some things on top of the Infinity change, but I think overall it's still a big nerf, especially because of this. I mean, just losing 10% points final damage is already pretty significant. Bishop, I believe, did quite well. Skills improved so that it can be cancelled by right-clicking. And damage increased. Fire protection is cooldown will not apply. You're gonna choose to apply skill transparency debuffs or not. You can do this feature on and off by right clicking the skill. The wings feathers recreation cooldown has been increased from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. Damage increased from 200 to 230. Oh, last time we were looking at this stuff, someone was like, I think the Triumph's feather was supposed to be... Is this supposed to be a really big thing? There was something that I was overlooking that looked like a very small thing, and someone was like, oh, that's actually big. That recovers maximum HP instead of base HP. Special colors. Cooldown decrease for Genesis to 30. The damage has been decreased from 4 or 5 to 3. The number of hits decreased from 12 to 10. Holy Water for a platform with Holy Water disappears. Holy Water will now also be removed. Rip. If Holy Water is removed with the duration remaining, you will acquire 50% of that Holy Water. Aww. Cooldown decrease on blood and the cooldown... Oh no, this is where the benediction change, right? So this is actually quite good for bishops. Cooldown decrease on door from 90 to 60 seconds. So this is benediction. You can use benediction again within 5 seconds to decrease the skill's duration by 14 seconds and the cooldown by 60 seconds. So you can use benediction now both in a 3-minute team and have it up every 3 minutes, and in a 2-minute team and have it up every 2 minutes. So that's really cool. I like that extra flexibility. And duration increase for Angels of Libra. I think, of course, you're taking the Bishop is also taking the Infinity change, but since their main value is in supportiveness, like solo, you're probably still taking a nerf, but that benediction change is quite huge, and I would consider that pretty big. I want to put them at neutral, but of course open to feedback. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, if you agree with that, disagree with that. Holy Light hitting an enemy now activates Triumph Feather. Oh, okay. That's why they probably increased the Triumph Feather cooldown here, because the Peacemaker can activate it. And then Holy Blade cooldown decreased from 264 to 260. Oh yeah, that was slightly extra tweaks, yeah. And the maximum cooldown reduction increased from 120 seconds to 140 seconds, just to synchronize it better with the existing burst and keep it on that 2 minutes together with the Prey for solo bossing, if you're doing stuff on a 2-minute rotation. Archers, further double jump. No more cooldown on the Quiver Flow, Bolt Flow. I believe that's the teleport. Or at least placing down the teleport, not teleporting. Teleporting is not spammable. KMST? No, this is not KMST. This is already live service in KMS. This is Ignition. And since Ignition is coming for us, I thought it was a good idea to look back, since we now have the official date. We know that it's going to be November 16th, to really look at if the classes are going to see buffs or nerfs in general compared to where they are now, to make sure that this column on my class grid is at least the one column that I can at least do properly, that at least that one is accurate. But this Thursday, we should see live server updates from the most recent KMS Tespia. Okay, Archers. Marksman, kill down, fixing charged arrow. Piercing, action delay. Oh, I believe they got rid of the weird action. Can I refresh this and see if it changes the icons that are loaded? It's so weird that some of the icons just don't load. Maybe it's just too many. Maybe when I copied it over, it just couldn't copy all of them in one go. Yeah, it must have been when I copied it over that it was just too much to copy over and it just couldn't do it all or something. Maybe should have done it in smaller chunks or something. DS. We had a few small DS. No, did we have every? We only had some skill fixes, like small, very small things. Nothing functionally changed yet. Attack range has increased by about 24% on Bolt Swift. Action delay has been decreased by 4%. Cooldown has been decreased from 10 seconds to 7 seconds. Pretty big for Bolt Swift, although I have never used it myself. I was already level 250 on the Marksman by the time that skill came out, and I don't really have any intention in the short term or long term to be leveling that class any further. So, yeah, I will just leave it at that, I guess. Let me take these guys real quick. Painkiller. I don't think I ever use that skill. Oh yeah, enhanced piercing action delay has been decreased by 7%, and sniping action delay has been decreased by about 7 as well. They basically wanted the attack progression for the skills to be constant and not to be sometimes a little bit faster, sometimes a little bit slower. The main changes with true sniping, I don't know if this is a buff or a nerf, because I wasn't really using my iframe that much, but maybe it was because it's a 3-minute cooldown and no super long duration. This might be, honestly, it's probably better, like, we saw how my Hard Lotus went, right? Having a minute cooldown iframe instead of a 3-minute. So instead of 3 minutes, with like 14 seconds of iframe, like 12 during, 2 after, and having to fire 7 times, now you just click once, all the damage is done instantly. and instead of 12 plus 2 seconds, it's now 2 plus 1 second. So 3 total duration instead of 14. But you can use it every minute instead of every 3 minutes. So in terms of this as part of your burst damage, in your burst rotation, it's not going to do as much anymore. But in terms of the utility for survivability, it's going to be way better. And then Split Arrow now has 25% IED. So that's quite nice. Spammable iframe, well, 60 seconds, but way more spammable than 3 minutes, yeah. So I would still say for marksman, yeah, with all those changes, I would say that's, I think that constitutes small buff at least, yeah. Pathfinder, Cardinal Discharge, don't use that word. Targeting, Cardinal Blast, more targets. Just Cardinal Blasts, scaling better. Marksman definitely needed more IED. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm not saying a large buff, because our IED is already like out the ass. It's not needed. It's not needed at all. Let me add all these songs. You guys keeping the songs going. Good shit. Working at the Mickey D's. Mickey D's nuts. Oh, proximity. Right? Yeah. Triple impact. The explosive arrow's firing angle is more narrow. Decrease the damage, but you're more likely to actually hit all the arrows. I don't know how necessary that was. I don't know if the triple impact damage is really something that you register. I thought you were just trying to up jump and get the knockdown resistance, like a positioning and a survivability tool, not so much actually for damage, but I guess I thought it was necessary. The movement starting action delay has been decreased by about 7%, and the bow attack after moving action delay has been... Okay, so that one's more swift. That goes into combination with the fact that it is now just effectively a teleport rather than a dash, which I think was a good change for Pathfinders. Just being able to teleport at all times through the laser and Lotus and stuff like that is just generally, I think, a good move, and probably something that most people wanted. And then Curse lasts twice as long. Relegation consumption decreased. Additional transition. Apply when they hit enemies. Triple impact damage boost. Oh, triple impact damage boost removed from Ancient Archery. I see. And then the blast enhancement's explosion range has been increased by 10%. Discharge enhancement attacks, arrows attack range has been increased by 42%. Again, I would put this not at large buff or big buff, I guess. I think this stays in the small buff area, but it's definitely a lot of quality increase on very many fronts. So, but I don't think there's like one situation where you use all of these at the same time. So there's not a like cumulative factor there where, oh, all of these little buffs all together form like a huge buff in a certain scenario. So I would keep it at small buff, like pseudo quality of life buff stuff. Shadow Rush's skill has been improved so that it can be used during Nightlord's attacking skills. I'm interested to see how that's going to change gameplay. Skills have been improved to apply the attacker to a throwing star at the top of the inventory. Attack range increased by about 8% on 4 seasons. What's that skill called again in GMS? Definitely not the 4 seasons. I would remember that. Charms explode at a more accurate location. Don't know if that's super important, but probably in some situations it was a little bit annoying. Yeah, rolled back, not rollbacked. Command for this page. Yeah, it's under exclamation mark classes. On the left side, all the way on the top left. I really wonder if that Shadow Rush change is going to consist of enough to be a small update. No worries, dude. I'll keep that neutral for now. Ignore all. Ignore assassinate, dude. Be the same. Discussment improves to make it easier to distinguish the first attack and the final strike's hit sounds. Okay, amazing. I leave it an issue where you could not use this skill immediately after using another skill, and the skillsman improves so that it can be linked to Assassin's first attack as well. Mostly quality of life stuff. Shadow are already in a very good position, of course, but like increased hands will help with eviscerate use utility even more. So another piece of gameplay that they can get into. I don't know how big of a change it will be to allow him to eviscerate on the assassinate's first hit. If that's going to consist of enough, is going to be enough situations where that's a considerable benefit. I wonder. I'm inclined to say no there, that it's like too limited amount of situations where that's going to make a significant difference, but maybe not. The eviscerate change is huge for me because I'm so bad at it. Well, right now you can only do it on the last attack, right? Yeah. But then if you're looking at like Shadow Rush and being able to dash during attacks and everything on the Night Lord, that might be enough to give you a lot of repositioning possibility during burst as well. That in combination with like the really big ROR area and actually being able to move inside Roar, staying alive on the Night Lord and everything. I don't know if that's going to be then also pushing you over the corner where it's like small buff. I mean, they're definitely getting positive things, but the question is it enough to consist of a small buff? Compared to the other ones I've given small buff, I'm inclined to say no here, but again, availability to disagree. It's good for bad shadowers. Yeah. For me, it would be a huge buff then. Okay, Dual Blade. Continuously for a certain period of time. Attack range increased by about 87% on Asura. Damage increase from 865 to 895 on Bladestorm. And Rochester's damage increased from 610 to 810 on Haunted Edge. Yeah. The Trick Blade changes? Yes, the Trick Blade changes, yeah. Access to the dock, right here. In the class grid. It's always been there, so it'll always be there. It is, yeah. I'll definitely give small buff to Dual Blade there, because they are definitely catching up on some of the points. This will help Asura hit way more easily and wreak havoc in higher level areas even more, where they were already performing quite well. And just increasing their burst even more looks nice. Is Willing Dojo AFK EXP good at level 70? Yeah, it's very decent up to level 200, I would say. And definitely use it if you have those coupons up until that point. Okay, Viper. They had to take Buccaneer down a notch, if I remember correctly. Enemies hit down 15 to 12, 8 to 6. Attack range increase on Fist and Rage. Hook Bomber enemies hit taken down from 10 to 7. Sea Serpent number is down from 10 to 8. Defense force skill has been changed from having a chance to activate to activating for 3 seconds when a Sea Serpent or a Soul Skill hits an enemy. The damage reduction has been increased from 40%, decreased from 40% to 30%, and there's now a cooldown of 4 seconds. So it's more reliable. Is this part of... This is not part of percentage HP attacks though, right? Decreases damage taken for ability to maintain their DPS. However, considering defense forms duration and cooldown, its performance became excessive, so we adjusted the damage reduction to be lower than was in test. We set some of the skills number of enemies hit too high, so we inevitably had to lower the number. I mean, again, you're mainly jumping around with Lord of the Deep anyway. So, I mean, Hook Bomber only just picks up the stragglers. So, I mean, I guess it's... I wonder if this is functionally really going to change the character. I feel like it's a little bit of buff, a little bit of nerf. I feel like it cancels each other out, right? I feel like it evens out. It's either... not nerf. Yeah, it seems neutral to me. It seems close enough. Mobbing nerf is not that big of a deal. Yeah, I guess exactly. I wouldn't say that either. And then the defense is just going to be more reliable. It's almost just quality of life, actually. And then yeah, you lose some. You hit like 13,000 monsters per attack anymore. But in general, I feel like it's pretty neutral. Okay, Captain, getting to the Corsair. Infinity build is going to be improved. Yeah. Action delay decreased on continual aiming. That is, when improved, the invisibility duration is fixed regardless of the aiming. The feature of the damage being based on the number of enemies that being attacked is gone. Damage has been increased from 710 to 927 at level 25. Invisibility by adjusting its action delay. Probably not big enough changes. Deadeye's was a little bit weird to use. I remember that, but it's also an iframe, so again, I would say pretty neutral on that. Cannoneer, Monkey Fury's skill has been improved so it doesn't hit any enemies. The cooldown will be decreased by 5 seconds. That's kind of nice because if you miss and you still have the same cooldown, so that's kind of cool. But again, not big enough of a change. Character is not entering combat stage with counterattack is active. The cooldown has been decreased from 120 seconds to 90 seconds on the special monkey escort. Duration decreased from 42 to 34. Duration is already pretty nice at this point, and the duration decrease is not even congruent with the duration. So I think in general the uptime is going to go up, right? If I'm not mistaken. 42 seconds on 120 is only a little bit more than a third, but 34 on 90 is... You know, that goes like 1/60th above, goes to like 1/22nd above. So like the percentage of uptime goes up, so that's nice. But now it also synchronizes with another burst, so that's also kind of cool. Again, I don't know if that's big enough for the change. But it does make it nicer that you can keep alternating between the skills when you're mobbing, and you don't have to be overlapping them. That's kind of cool. Poopmaker skills when improved, there are no enemies attackable within range of bombardments will not fall. The skill have been improved so that 2 supply boxes are created when with the first and last bombardments. The maximum interval between bombardments activation will decrease by about 21. I am inclined to call this small buff because of the pool and the monkey changes. This one by itself is just whatever. This one is by itself is also whatever. But these 2 skills are pretty big for them. And getting an extra box, I think that's cool. So I would small buff this one. Soul monster, so the intentional can be increased by about 10%. Because it improves that the Rune of Transcendence applies to it. Because it improves that it stays with buff freezers. That's quite nice for Soul Eclipse. I mean, you shouldn't be dying in Soul Eclipse because that's a lot of your DPS loss, but at least you keep the skill when you come back. Skill has been improved so that the character only enters in combat when casting the skill and using Solar Divine. It's already on small buff. I don't know if this counts. I don't think this is enough to move them from small buff to large buff. I would keep them where they are right now. Blaze Wizard is already on large, so I can't really do anything with this unless this is big nerfs. Displays the stacks. Improved to put the character into in-combat state only when casting the skill. The skill has been improved to acquire flames even by defeating boss monsters. Okay. Yeah, it's just quality of life mainly. Trust and Whim, fixing spear was not affected by the skill transparency. The arrow creation location was different based on reduction you use, and the feature of damage being based on the number of enemies being attacked has been removed. Okay. And I think this is a new effect for Wind Archer, the skill as well. All of these effects didn't go through. Hang on, let me see if I can... If I can get this back in there. Oh, for fairy turn, yeah. I have to wait until they load here as well. So I guess I'll have to start pasting it in smaller batches so that it loads. But I don't know if I like refresh it, if the same thing, if it'll still be there or not. I would think what I did is I copied like the entire patch and then did it all. I don't know if it's just like, you know, this file is just too big for too big to be handled. But I think at the time where I copied it, it was too much and it just didn't go. It didn't just synchronize properly. So I'll, in the future, when I have these major skill changes, I'll just have to copy it over in smaller batches to make sure, because then it'll just look a lot cleaner than now, where like half the skills are like, eh. This one is Swedish, right? So the turn is skill effect has been changed. The timing after using the skill has been decreased. Okay, so that's no additional changes. Time it takes for the shadow blast attack summon has been increased by 28%. Using can be used to move while using your own skills, except common skills. Damage decreased on triple throw. Final attack damage increased. Shadow Servant appeared awkwardly. Damage decreased 300 to 220, and final attacks damage increased from 400 to 660. Duration increased from 20 to 30 seconds on Shadow Momentum. Time it takes for an enhanced Shadow Blast attack after being summoned has been decreased by 28 seconds. By 28%. 28 seconds will be used. Skills when improves the deployment attack on the flank stars. Quintuple throw 320 to 230. Final attacks damage increase from 475 to 920. So the bats are just doing a lot more. The Revenant's bats are attacking. Bats attacking way faster. Skill now apply 4 seconds of Dark Sight when used as well. The fatigue of cancel skill cancel features. So the damage when throwing will be equal to damage when hunting. We improve Shadow Revenant's bats to attack monsters faster, alleviate damage loss. I feel like that moves them. I feel like that's what they needed to go from like small to big. Honestly, but again, I could be off, but it seems like that gives them a lot of cool stuff that they can play around with now. No, I did not have a space. Now it loads! It is loaded. Okay, and then Thunderbreaker lightning stacks, show distance and the limit. Yeah, I remember that they just made it go further and it hits more monsters. Attack range increased by about 40%, attack rate decreased by about 50%, so they buffed that. Attack range increased by 23% on Thunderbolt. And now this is Norwegian? Now I don't know anymore. Now you're trying to fuck with me. bättre. I don't know. This one might be either one. I'm not sure. Still Swedish? Fuck. I bet this person lives very close to the border though, okay, Applic? The duration increased from 42 seconds to 49 seconds. Cooldown increased from 108 to 120 to synchronize it better. Yeah. Action delay decreased by about 14%, and then when linked decreased by about 8%. Gear strike attack range has been increased by 31%. The action delay decreased by 33%, and action delay when linked has been decreased by about 33%. A lot of extra tweaks for the Thunderbreaker. I don't know if I can make the Thunderbreaker go from small to large with this though. Bigger attack ranges for big ass attacks is always fun though. I would say a strong small buff, I would say, on this one. Mihail's customer use blink while on the ground during the skill. Okay. And then developer notes what we just said. What I just said. Okay, can I do all the heroes in one go? Let's see if that works. Unwol, what is that? Does anyone know what Unwol is? Never heard of that before. Is it loading? Oh my god, it's loading, chat. Look, all the pictures. Oh, the file is going to be beautiful now. Shade? What is that? Oh wait, I think I made a command to remind myself. Shade. Yeah, I remember Shade. This is Shade, yeah. Okay, I remember now. Thanks. Thanks, chat. Okay, action delay was increased by 10%. Jump distance move has been increased by about 16%. Attack range increase 63% on final blow. What did it do to Beyonder again? Use separately without having to be linked to final blow. Oh yeah. Yeah, and then the adrenaline rush cooldown decreased from 4 minutes to 3 minutes. More combo from Maha, and Fenrir Crash damage increased. Okay, Aaron I think was on neutral, but we'll take it to small buff for sure here. Okay. An auto use mode has been added that automatically activates the skill whenever 10 magic debris are created. Dude! Okay, why can other skills not have this, where it is automatically, but only when you have the maximum amount? Because I believe all the other skills that have like, oh, if you have this effect, it'll just automatically activate. Like for Arc, for example, we've got the thing where we can explode up to 8, I think. But as soon as you have 1, it'll activate. And then it'll create extra, but then it's on cooldown. And then the next 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 will just disappear because the skill will be on cooldown the whole time. And then as soon as the skill comes off cooldown again, then if you have 8 at that point, it'll activate those 8. And it's like, but why does it activate before that point? Why doesn't it, you know, why does this wait to the point where... Right? Where does it wait to the point where you can just... wait until you have max the first time before it activates the first time. But maybe they'll expand this logic into other similar skills in the future. Keep the songs going, guys. Applic is DJing by himself right now. Check your Moses. 300 Moses if you are not subbed. 150 if you're subbed. Exclamation mark SR space YouTube link. Throw the song in the list. Visual damage being split equally over the number of enemies being attacked has been removed. Oh, this might have an effect on the boost nodes then, right? Because remember, in boost nodes, you wanted to be careful with the spread because you could actually lower your kill potential. So we'll have to might have to circle back there. Dragon Fury always applies regardless of MP. Nice. I believe that's the extra final damage if you are have a certain amount of MP. So now it's just always going to give you not final damage. Magic attack percent, I believe. Passive for Dark Fog always improved. Consumes MP evenly when cast. Skills are improved so that it doesn't disappear. We already had small buff on Evan. I'm going to keep that on small buff because of the buff and the final damage. The mana overload being activated on more skills for them. So I'll keep that on small. Of course, the magic debris is probably a dream for most Evans. Finally, that's working for them. Stop. Luminous. Bless of Darkness skill has been changed to passive skill that increases. What were the other changes again? Oh yeah, the equilibrium is changing completely now, right? Action delay decreased by 70%, should be increased by about 83%, self-recovery. Okay, technically decreased by about 10%. The attack method has been improved. The attack will now spread in the same range above and below the center point of the monster. I believe... I know I'm talking out of my ass, but I think Luminouses saw this as a nerf. 500% final damage increase mod check. Yeah, you're looking for a slight tweak of doing 6x your damage. Morningstar for skill effect concept and attack method have been changed. The star of the destruction will now move forwards a certain range regardless of platforms and continue to stack enemies. Action delay on Dr. Sandoz number 6 decreased from 10 to 5. The duration has been increased from 20 to 30 seconds. Damage per second increased to 48. The visual damage being based on the number of enemies have been gone. Buttons of light or darkness. Equilibrium. The cooldown is duration of 3 seconds. Oh yeah, because people didn't like the new baptism of light and darkness and equilibrium change, I think, right? Didn't you say that, Mirio? That people in the Luminous Discord were throwing a temper tantrum over this thing? Gave it all, but I want. What was it, like a change bad boo, or was it like this is actually shit for us? Adjusted. Oh Jesus. Just not optimal. Okay. So I. Would it be okay if I put it on small nerf then? Because I remember people not being too raving. Most of them were like, people shrug. So would you say it's more neutral then? The Dark Crescendo stacking faster, I guess, is kind of cute. But then how the equilibrium operates now in Tespia, they're changing it so that you can still have a little bit more power on when your equilibrium starts, right? Which I think is better and probably counters what I think is the small buff part of this. But that's on a later date, so I can't really quite include that in this grading yet. I always want to wait until there's a big amount of skill balance changes coming in Korea, until that's soon for us, and then make this. And then when that goes through, look at, okay, how much is on the way in Korea already, and if that's enough, then do that again. Total damage, but small nerf to total damage, but small buff to mobbing. Okay, I feel like I say putting a small nerf then, because I think your mobbing is already okay. So buffing that more, I don't know if that's that big of an impact. But like bossing and like DPM is pretty important, right? That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Okay, Mercedes, this increase. The height limit, guys, Leap Tornado. The height limit required to use the skill has been alleviated. All noobs in the world rejoicing. When it comes first patch of the Ignition of GMS will archive the bind 3-minute cooldown for 3 months. I think so, Proxo, yeah. The bind changes after Ignition, yeah. I think we're gonna be stuck with that for a while. Sorry, just destroying Raid Shadow Legends PvP a little bit. Okay. Height limit, the gust dive will be maintained. Attack range has been increased by about 31%. Arrows will pierce through enemies on dual strike shot. You can use Unicorn in the air. Bigger range. I believe double the duration as well. Yeah. Action delay decreased by 37%. And fixation by the effective display cooldown decreased from 10 seconds to 9 seconds. That's a lot of buffing for one skill. Lower action delay, attack range increased by about 154%. Elemental Knights into a toggle. Ignis Roar gives it attack speed. Spear increased by about 24%. Strike dual shot. The arrows will now pierce through enemies. Red Vanilla attack range increased by about 47%. The hit timing has been improved to match the effect. Oh, thank God. It was so annoying that you have like a giant hitbox floating through a target and the target's just like, nothing happened. Can't hurt me. Cooldown removed on Elvish Blessing. Thank God. Something that has more than 100% uptime, but like arbitrarily still has a recast option. Skill cannot be registered as pet auto buff. And final damage boost increase from 5 to 10. You know what? Order. In Oda. Botsjungen. Right, definitely small buff. Maybe large? Question mark? I don't know. Definitely small. Maybe large? Nah, small? I don't know. Phantom Seals goes away. Dark Shurikens. Oh my God. Showdown creates Shurikens. Base. You can steal Turning Kick and Hook Bomber. This skill will now deal 150% increased damage when attacking normal monsters. Based. Cooldown duration decreased from 10 seconds to 5 seconds, and damage increased from 200 to 400. So you'll just get all of your damage done faster in a shorter amount of time, so you aren't stuck as long, which is especially nice since you don't have reduced incoming damage or iframe or anything like that in this mode. And then Joker has been improved to ignore stun status effects during the keydown. The Red Cross buff's name has been changed to Priest buff. Priest buff's icon has been changed. I kind of like that Joker got you stunned, because in Vellum, if I could get hit by the stun, then the skill would end, and then I went into the iframe, and then the tails couldn't kill me. But if I had to do it manually, I wouldn't trust myself to. The Joker change is great. I mean, you can move in Joker, though. You should be dodging any stuns, right? Wait, this is MapleStory music, isn't it? Oh no, Pokemon Diamond. You're slow? Kind of, yeah. You're rather slow. Finally got my first character to 200. Grats, dude. Thank you for the guides. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Glad you're able to do it in your own way and using the guides and the commands whenever you wanted to. Boost. I'm gonna keep it at small buff. Yoon Wool. Again, no idea what it is, but we'll just go through it here. Single use. Yeah. 5% final damage on Knuckle Booster. Remove. Rip. Attack speed boost increase from 1 stage to 2 stages on Spirit Bond. Shockwave Punch does some spooky things early on. Bump Punch of a skill can use up to 3 hits of first damage increase with 320 number of hits of 3 to 4. The first hit's attack range has been increased by about 22%. Skill now deals 30% increased damage with normal ones. You can now cancel even the last hit by using the arrow keys or the jump key. Or eventually rank up just epics? Yeah, just make a whole bunch of epics until you get large drop and then start slamming uniques. Skills improves the liver drop rate is applied per monster. Oh, it wasn't before? What the fuck? Final damage boost has been decreased from 750 to 550. Yowza! Fix the problem with the spirit focus on ground positive effects. That's a big one, right? Damage has been decreased on Spirit Gear from 600 to 450. Damage duration has decreased from 40 to 30. The cooldown has been decreased from 90 to 60. Crit rate boost per debuff has been increased from 8 to 16. Like, that's necessary at all. And the critical damage boost per buff, that one's useful, has been increased from 1 to 2. The maximum number of debuff stacks has been decreased from 10 to 5. Rip. But, like, why would you... Oh, just you need to build fewer stacks. Okay, only 5. But I don't need 80% critical rate on Spirit Gate. Like, that's just completely unnecessary. Like, we're already building to having 100% crit rate. Like, if this happens and the boss is under 50%, you're giving me plus 130% crit rate. Why? At least give Phantom. Give whatever this class is, Yunwol, give them something like Vicious Shot or something then, so that they can actually get damage out of that extra crit. Special Chambers attack damage decrease from 800 to 500. Final attack damage decrease from 1900 to 1250, and the cooldown decrease from 90 to 60. Really retweaking. A lot of creasing going on as well. But yeah, we already know the harsh reality of all this is that Shades... or not harsh, because right now they're actually way overperforming, is that this is a huge nerf for them. But it is probably, you know, everything that all the classes that you're seeing here with big nerf, it's probably warranted. Right now Shades are like overperforming in damage output some of the classes that were supposed to be peak damage dealers. And of course they are not predominantly, but they are in large portion a support. So it does feel rather weird if they're able to outperform big damage dealers like that. Kaiser, burning. Okay, I'm just recopying here over the file real quick as well, because all of the pictures were lost. Or not all of them, but most of them, because I copied too much at a time. So I'm trying to copy the smaller chunks here. And then that should load all the pictures better. Starting from the top, of course. Oh. Yeah, these are all loaded, these are all loaded, these are all loaded. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, now everything is able to load. Okay, there we go. From the top, resistance characters with the demons. Here we go, demons lever. Skill could not be used continuously for a certain period of time after being used. Spammable dark thrust. Pause, champ. Better burn a Cygnus? Yeah, you can check exclamation mark ignition. There's a link to the Reddit post with all the possible rewards that you'll be getting during ignition, creating a new character, leveling an existing character, how far you level it, etc., etc. During explosion, the first attack now deal 400% point increased damage when attacking normal monsters. Huge. I mean, pretty use. Action delay decrease on Devil Cry by 15%. No more special cores on metamorphosis. The cooldown has been decreased from 200 to 120, and duration decreased from 50 to 35. I think that's still percentage. Yeah, there's still a percentage uptime increase. So with buff duration, you're still getting a total coverage that's higher. Jormungandr cooldown increased from 108 to 123 seconds, so that it synchronizes with 120 second stuff. Damage increased from 1700 to 1950, and damage when disappears increased from 1800 to 2100, so just better syncing. This just makes absolutely no fucking sense. Orthus is already a really strong skill. Duration just increased from 40 to 52 seconds, which is an insane buff. I guess the class is just not doing too well in Korea, but I don't know why they keep doing this. And then the Demon Bane cooldown decreased from 240 to 120, so moving 4 minutes to 2 minutes. Damage during keydown decreased from 650 to 525. Damage during keydown and decreased from 1560 to 1250. And invincibility duration decreased from 8 seconds to 6 seconds would be due. And the maximum keydown decreased from 4 to 3 seconds. Would be freaking due. But yeah, these of course are huge buffs. Again, I don't know why. Again, probably because they are just not doing too hot in Korea, or weren't, you know. Again, this is from Ignition. Oh, armor. Always correct to armor, baby. Armor. All right, Demon Avengers, get ready for a big nerf. Duration of the stage increased by 10 seconds. That's nice. Final damage buff duration increased from 60 to 90 seconds on overload release. That's kind of nice. Not super necessary because you still want to use it to increase your lifesteal to make sure that you're not dying to stuff, but it's kind of nice. Skillsman improves that the rush range is the same regardless of Exceed stage. That is kind of nice. As you know, the other skills, when you go into different Exceed stage, you get a different hitbox. For Exceed, it would mean that the range of the dash was different, which meant that if you use Overload Release and then dashed, you had to immediately muscle memory, like, oh, I'm not getting a full dash, I'm getting like 3/4 of a dash here. And then sometimes you die to dumb shit if you forgot that for a half second, which was a little bit unfortunate. Okay. Attack range increased by 33% for Moonlight. This is so that the hitbox is actually larger than Frenzy, which is already out all the time floating around you. And because when it is, Moonlight essentially becomes useless because you're hitting in the same box where you're already killing things. So yeah, changes. You can now use shields in the air. If you read only up until this point, we're looking at small buff at least. You know, armor break, 30 extra seconds duration. It's like, oh wow, we're chilling. Demon Frenzy, the maximum final damage boost has been decreased from 35% to 20%. Ow. Never mind. Fixtures where sometimes damage reduction effect would continue after using the skill. And then the cooldown decreased from 240 to 120. Duration decreased from 30 to 15 seconds on Revenant. I think it's pretty fair to say that this is big nerf. I don't know if it is unwarranted, but the problem is... But still the same high-risk gameplay, yeah. The problem is on things, and with all the 4-minute changes, of course, if you just change the duration or just cut things in half, this has a huge effect on solo gameplay, especially if you're like soloing Hard Lucid, for example. They're keeping the damage for Revenant the same here, but they're cutting the duration in half, which means that in the past you could have like 40 seconds of Hard Lucid. For the first 5 seconds you could survive, then plop Revenant, and then you have 5 seconds of kind of being scary at the end, and then you nuke Hard Lucid. Now you only have 15 seconds of this, and this is the thing that's, you're both getting less final damage from being low HP because of Frenzy, and so the Revenant damage is already getting nerfed because of that, and you're only getting the extra damage for half the time. So what I was talking about before, when you have like small little buffs, but they don't really empower each other, that stays small buff. But here you have like decently sized nerfs, and they do overlap, so that becomes huge nerf basically. Does high income rating better in your tiering? No. You have class criterion here. You can click this document, and it explains completely what all the criterion imply and how the ranking system goes. If you want to look at those details, I can link you that here as well. But that's all available here as well. That's why it's like highlighted and blue and clickable. I might redo this at one point, but this file is supposed to be more of a background data file and not like something that's on the foreground as much. So I'm not going to redo it as much. Right now I have to work on transposing it to a different system and transposing it to my website. And because that's the next lateral move, I'm not going to work on the existing as much anymore. But like, yeah, I know what you meant. It's mentioned here. Yeah, so we got fucked there. Battle Mage, I believe Battle Mage got nerfed quite a bit too, if I remember correctly. Damage decrease from 225 to 100 on Dark Lightning. Skill not just normal monster. 354 change to be more accurate. Damage boost has been decreased from 40 to 25 on Battle Rage. Spell boost, magic attack boost has been decreased from 25% to 10%. It's going to automatically activate the aura skill for being used before two altars every time. So the awkward preparation decrease from 25 to 23 seconds. Maximum number of enemies has increased from 10 to 12. This lightning activation range has been increased by about 53%. Yeah. So from what I've seen, From what I've heard from battle mages is that they consider that big nerf for them as well. Wild Hunter doesn't remove passive effects. Damage has been changed to 30% because of level. Oh yeah, the level. Yeah, they got rid of the level. So I think that means for endgame it's pretty similar, but like working up to endgame, working up to high level, it should feel like a buff. Because that scaling is taken off of a lot of the skills. Attack mode duration increased from 3 Attack mode duration increased from 3 to 5 seconds. Reload time decreased from 4 to 2 seconds. So a lot more uptime. So 5 up and 2 down instead of 3 up and 4 down. Attack range increased by 31%. The skill has been improved so that it does not activate special cores. Beast form gives 2 seconds of invincibility when used with a cooldown of 70 seconds. The skill effect has been changed. Action delay has been increased by 76%. The skill can no longer be used on ropes and ladders. Oh yeah, extra iframe, true. I think they reduced something to it in Tespia recently as well. Maybe a little bit of the action delay. Alpha type P, attack range has been increased by about 31%. Okay. Jaguar Soul 2-minute bind instead of 3-minute. Draco Tenor, Rampage is 1. Jaguar Summon, the resummon cooldown has been decreased from 6 seconds to 3 seconds. The skill has been improved so that while Jaguar Summon is active, you can now use Cross Road while riding a Jaguar regardless of the cooldown. I mean, that to me feels at least like small buff, but potentially large. Like in between. I mean, gaining an iframe. Mobbing and a bind on 2 minutes instead of on 3 minutes. It's hard to say. It's like in between, I think. In between small and large. Medium. Medium buff. Mechanic, I thought I did always correct to armor. Always correct to armor. Always correct to armor. Okay, clearly. Clearly you're not doing it. Oh, armor. Always correct armor. Always correct to good job. Good job, dude. Alright, thank you DJ Appleck for keeping it going. Petrified. Yeah, that's nice. It could be used by holding the key. It's still getting tweaked in Korea right now, but in itself, that's a good thing that you can hold down the homing missiles. Tank piercing on the skills. Longer duration on the magnetic field. And then added iframe to this, right? But then increasing the cooldown. They're further tweaking this, but I think this is already at least on small buff as well. Armor and armor. American versus British spelling. Even though for my pronunciation it's pretty much American English, for my spelling and some of the vocabulary I still prefer British English. Like the I's with IZE at the end, I'll never do that. Masquerade, I'm pretty sure that's with an E in there, yeah. Okay, and then Xenon. Incline power skill now increases pet auto buff. Pet auto buff. Slight tweaks on the attacking skills. Mana overload change and photon ray was the biggest thing, I think. Accessory charge time decreased from 2 seconds to 1 second. The MP consumption per second has been changed from 1 plus 180 MP to 1% to 180 MP to 2% plus 100 MP. So let's say you have like, I don't know, 20k MP. Then it does 380. It goes from 380 to 500. Oh shit. What if you have 10k? Then it goes from 280 to 300. Then it goes slightly up. How much MP do Xenons have? Xenons, where are you guys at? All Xenon mains, speak up. All three of you. Hello? It would be a coincidence if all three Xenon mains were in the chat at this point. What about the mech? Oh, I just saw it. A lot of quality of life stuff, longer buffs, holding down homing missiles, and piercing attacks on the single target Moomers, and then iframe on War Machine. So definitely been good. But they're getting even slightly more tweaks now in Tespia, and hopefully Thursday those will be solidified in the live server. Alright, there we go. Cool. Additional aiming time is decreased for each hit. I don't know. This feels like you use virtual protection while the attack is being activated. Time before re-input this. This feels like nerf and buff at the same time. I don't know. It feels pretty neutral for Xenon. But maybe I'm missing something here. The photon aiming is nice, but it seems like overload mode is probably gonna be costing you way more mana. Unless you only have like 4k mana or something, but I'm pretty sure they have 10k or more mana, so. Thank you, Broxo. Blaster, I played this one time, so I'm an expert now. The attack range has been increased by about 95% on Magnum Punch, obviously. Double Fang, the attack range has been increased by about 36%. Skill improvement does not activate special cores. Hammer Smash attack range has been increased by 36%. Debuff increased from 10 seconds to 30. Thank the fucking Lord. Duration has been increased from 10 to 30 on the boost. Oh, on this as well. That's nice. I mean, you're still, if you play the character properly, you could have combination training or muscle training, whatever the fuck it's called. You could have the duration be 2 seconds, and you would still not notice a difference if you're just playing the character properly. But for a noob, that's really nice. Shockwave Punch attack has been attack range by 33%, skill just 85% increased damage when attacking normal monsters. Okay. The normal monster damage boost to Shockwave's punch damage has been removed. Yeah, who cares? It already nukes everything anyway. Maximize cannon. Bullets was decreased from 50% to 35. Cooldown decreased from 240 to 120. Okay, cool. Not affected by critical status effect during the keydown. Oh, that's nice. Now instantly reload all bullets except those consumed by Burning Breaker when used. You can now input the skill key again while using it to instantly activate the explosion with 1 second of invincibility. Oh, that seems pretty cool actually. I did 240, 120, cut in half, 1 second, 80 seconds, 100 seconds. Passive effects while you can number of enemies has been increased from 7 to 10. Passive effects range has been increased by about 29%, and the passive effects reactivation cooldown has decreased from 6 seconds to 4 seconds. I want to say big buff, and I'm looking forward to the blasters in the chat telling me why that's potentially not correct. I think that's a lot of cool quality of life stuff that's being improved. Okay, I need to see... Oh, Kane. Kane picture's not loading. Katana. Oh, nothing here is loading. Okay. La-dee-da-dee-da. La-dee-da-dee-da. And then we got all the straggler classes here, including the Flora, of course. Lara Ho-Young, that's the last one, right? Yeah. La-dee-da-dee-da. La-dee-da-dee-da. Alright, almost did all the classes. Oh my god, we're going to do this in less than 16 hours, chat. Selected image is an unsupported file. Nutty the fuck, bro. These two? Okay, these are all loaded. Oh, these are all loaded beautifully. Loaded. These two, huh? You don't like these two? On Kinesies? Up, left. Up, right. Beautiful. Work smarter, not harder. All right, Kaiser. K for special K. Kaiser. Okay, thanks. Reboot is the best server to play, right? It depends on what kind of play style you're looking for and what kind of player you are, but I think most people can get more out of Reboot at this point than out of non-Reboot, yeah. Especially if you're going to be free to play, yeah. If you're okay with swiping that credit card and just delving deep into that MMO hole and wailing out, if you're going to be wailing in Reboot, you're going to get very little benefit out of that. But if you're going to be wailing in non-Reboot, you'll get a lot of benefit of that compared to people who don't. Okay, I was using the la-dee-da-dee-da. If you guys want to keep la-dee-da-dee-dying, make sure you don't request any songs. If you almost la-dee-da-dee-da out, try to !SR and then put a YouTube link. 300 Moses if you're not subbed. 150 if you are. !Moses shows your Moses. 210k, nice. Those swords have been changed to a toggle that summons 3 swords every 3 seconds. You can use Will of Swords charge to fire the summoned swords at enemies. The time it takes for the fired swords to start flying towards the enemies has been decreased, and the skill has been improved so that the enemy's targeted disappears. The swords no longer immediately disappear. That's actually quite cool. And this is a new skill that is used to fire the swords created by Will of Swords. This skill can be used while using other skills. There is a cooldown of 10 seconds. And then you have a regular sword strike. Damage increase. Attack range increased by about 13%. And the skill effects have been changed. Sure. You can use Infernal Breath in the air. That's okay, that audio doesn't go into the file, thank God. Skill tree changed to match the change to Will of Swords. Final transformation cooldown decreased from 300 seconds to 240. That's actually quite nice. It's still a 5-minute to a 4-minute, and it's really weird when they're moving everything from 4-minute into like 2-minute area, 3 or 2 minutes, and then this one goes down from 5 to 4. But it's a really, really strong skill, and you have extra buff duration on the other one, so you're already transformed quite a lot, so it still makes sense. Time it takes for the fire source to start flying towards the enemies has been decreased. That is really, really nice. I like that. I like Kaiser a lot. Honestly, Kaiser might be one of the characters that I actually just put some more love into, because dude, it's so fucking fun to play, man. I don't know, it's hell fun. It's not like you're gaining iframe or anything. I feel like it's big buff though. I would put it in big buff. I feel like this is going to be pretty big. All right, Kane. Final damage increase from 20 to 24, so that's only 4 percent points. The skills improves that the stacks are not reset when buffs are reset, entering content like Mulung Dojo, Culvert, and Ursus. I mean, that's a nice little meme thing, but it's not an insane burst, right? Because you're not going to use Grip of Agony in Mulung Dojo for like the first 20 floors or something, right? Thanatos' damage boost will now be maintained for the entire duration, even after activating the Area of Death attack. This skill has been improved so that the Area of Death can be activated while in the air, and improves an issue where sometimes the Area of Death did not activate well. Big buff? Nah. I'm already like doubting if it actually is enough to be a small buff. It's only 4 percent point final damage, quality of life, and quality of life. The Thanatos attack. I need to look at Thanatos Descent, what that buff is, because I don't know exactly how big that buff is. 45% damage of the metals created periodically. So to keep it for the whole, yeah. I mean, usually. I guess when it just means that they'll use Thanatos' Descent to start up their burst now instead of to end it, or you could just slam it whenever in your burst and it won't go at the expense of the buff. I have trouble calling that a large buff. Yeah, if you're roaring in, you'll do it early for sure, yeah. Oh god, that's a lot of songs I have on the top left there. That's a lot of Google tabs, boys. That's a lot of Google tabs. This better be over soon. That's a lot of tabs. Okay, Cadena. The slow effect is not halved. Cool. Slow effect is also not halved. Extra speed and jump. Oh yeah, because Cadenas are so slow, so immobile. They need all the help they can get. You're gonna be knocked back by any attack during Scimitar. Ooh, knockdown Scimitar. Ooh, okay. Summon scratching collider, you cannot be knocked back during Claw either? Oh, damn. Shurikens go closer to the character, so be linked with everything. Oh. You cannot be knocked back. What? What do you have no knockback on everything? What the hell? The Terrified Restoration 10 to 30 seconds. Could I be knocked back? Okay. Not be knocked back. Can you even be knocked back anymore? What the fuck? And by the way, when they say they cannot be knocked back, they mean cannot be knocked down, right? Because you already have 100% knockback resistance. So it's not a knockback. It's actually knocked down. Which maybe should mention that to Max to make sure that it stays like uniformly applied. Summon Bat. The confusion is played with forces as well. The confusion duration has been increased from 10 to 30 seconds. We're going to be knocked back, of course. So for the final damage boost will apply to all attacks. For some increase from 6 to 8 because this skill was so weak and it needed so much help. 490 to 495, 7 to 9 hits, 610 to 640, and third hits from 8 to 10 lines, and 790 to 915. The feature of the damage being based on the number of enemies being attacked has been removed. Oh yeah, that's just okay. That's because that's just to counteract the feature, though. Thank God. Generate Cygnus. Is this where they get that extra shell too, or is that after Destiny? That's after Destiny, right? Can be used one in the air. Fix yeah, they removed the feature that they get the max weapon variety stacks on this. Woo. That's not what anyone was using it for anyway, right? Is she ever getting nerfed? Shadower. Neutral so far. But I don't think there's more Shadower stuff, so they're staying roughly the same. Some extra tweaks. Ability to link your iframe to the beginning of Assassinate instead of only to the end, but that's basically the one big change. So the shield is in this one. Where is that? No, I feel like the shield is in the last Hespia. Oh, huh? Really? Oh, here? I could choose. If it's dark side for 2 attacks, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, here's the shield, yeah. 25% maximum HP and it goes down by 30% of current. Slow effect does not have the most. Okay, this is fucking. I mean, Cadena were definitely struggling. Definitely up the big buff. Does weaving mess it up still? It doesn't seem like it, no. The shield is so dumb. Some people tanking some crazy shit in it. I mean, they nerfed the shield compared to where they released it in the beginning, but it's still really good. Now you just spam? Spam it, baby. Hell yeah. Angelic Buster couldn't continuously for a certain period. Decreased the animation delay on the roar. Debuff duration up to 60 seconds. You can use Soul Resonance in the air. Your character will now be suspended in the air while the skill is being used, and the skill effects have been changed. You're going to be floating in the air now. Wait. Is Angelic Buster is one of the... Does Angelic Buster have an up jump? Wait, who does not have an up jump? It's... Technically, Aaron doesn't have an up jump because they have an up swipe. And then it's dual blade, right? And they have like the up stab thingy, but they technically don't have an up jump. Oh, Kaiser doesn't have one? Yeah. Nightlord? Oh yeah, Nightlord has the dash upwards, yeah. They have the dash. And AB does not have one? Pally, the Warriors have like an up slash as well, yeah, which is different, you're right. And that's what no, not what Mihail has, because Mihail has an up jump because it's a Cygnus. AB does have up jump? Okay. So you can up jump and then just float in Soul Resonance, and then you have Blink as well. So like Dragon is like Omega Keck now. Okay. Energy Burst has been improved to save buff freezers. Ooh, that's nice. The explosion attack went like moved away from the summon, then came back. Nice. Skills improved to acquire magical bubbles or save with buff freezers as well. Oh, Kaiser has up jump too? Okay. Fake news. Who said that? Morton. Oh, you said I think. Okay, so you weren't sure. Well, now you know. They do both have one. Angelic Buster. I'm going to put small buff there. Because it's like decent utility and everything, but not anything amazingly game-breaking buff-wise. Every day is a school day. Yep. 0 loses weapon attack. Cringe. You now have one passive instead of a choice. It gives you 20 speed, 10 jump, and 1 attack speed, and no more Divine Swift. Divine Aura. Rip. I hope it's not still a toggle. I hope it's just a passive now. So Burst Step is now a teleport when it's used left and right, which that's pretty good. Extra attack speed, resolve time, increases critical rate by 20%. And then it's taken out of rapid time and the stacks down here. So it's easier to get the max amount of stacks. Grace Sword Master increases damage by 50%. Feature damage removed. Skill. So essentially 100% points increase damage when attacking normal monsters. No more Red Cross here. Damage on Shadow Rain increased from 1400 to 1600. Cooldown decreased from 240 to 120 on Limit Break. The duration decreased from 42 seconds to 24. Damage is decreased from 775 to 410. Shock to 1300 to 750 to fix. If you cancel a buffer, but this is on 2 minutes, so even more binding. Pog. That's anything. If there's anything that 0 needed, it was more binds. So I'm glad that they were able to do that. Joint attack, the skills cooperative attacks number of explosions will now be increased by 1 for every 2 remaining link skills. However, the cooperative attack will only explode up to 5 times. Lots of numbers, but just more damage if you do it properly. And then Shadow Flash Battle will increase from 1200 to 1300 and 1500 to 1750. Because of everything and compared to where they are in the game, I would consider this big buff, but of course that doesn't mean that 0 is now like #1 character that everyone should be playing. But I think that they probably needed work more than a lot of the other characters in there, so I'm glad that they're getting some love. Okay, I need to get rid of some of these fucking YouTube things because I have so many now that I can't even see if I'm adding them properly. Because they can't all show up. Is that Snarky Puppy? Who is that? Oh no. I see Jazz I see Jazz Ensemble. Is it Snarky Puppy? That's the only one I know. Oh, that's what we're listening to right now, with the hands. That's already on a different playlist. So as you guys might be seeing now, we're adding all of these songs into the viewer lists, which are available under !playlists. We are working on the third playlist now. That's why it's viewer list 3, because you guys have requested so many freaking songs. I think at this point we are roughly at around 13,000 songs, I think, that have been requested on stream so far. And it's hard to keep up. Okay, cool. Kinesis. Jump when they used forwards has been increased. The jump distance when used upwards has been increased as well. Attack range for this increased by 17%. Cost HP consumes a mana overload. Where picking up an enemy would cause HP to be consumed due to mana overload. Fixing issue where... Oh, so that wasn't supposed to happen. Oh, interesting. Effect being used on a number of enemies in the area has been removed. The cooldown decreased from 10 seconds to 4 seconds. Skill will now apply 8-second cooldown if it is used while using other skills. The skill has been improved so that you can stop moving while holding the key down and move in 3 directions up, up left, up right. True. Okay. Diagonally. There you go. HP consumed because of fight. Yeah, the skill will now stop attacking instead of being deactivated if your psychic points reach 0. Yeah, I like that. I like that feature. Moving on to the number of enemies of an area has also been removed. Damage increased from 500 to 1,000. Number of hits increased from 1 to 4. It's going to change to passive that increased the final damage by 40%. Combat orders no longer applies. And then final damage here decreased from 40 to 15. This usually, I think, gave about 10% final damage. So that goes from 10 to 40, and this one goes from 40 to 15. So in general, it's still an increase in the final damage there. Give Kinesis Lifesteal. Honestly, Lifesteal is a thing that's kind of underrated in a sense that when you have it, when you don't have it, you don't really miss it. But if you play a character with a lot of Lifesteal, you're suddenly like, oh shit, this is really useful. And I think Kinesis has a lot of things with it that are going on that they're a little bit wonky, but that's kind of part of their appeal, but it does put them a little bit on the back foot compared to a lot of other like simpler classes. So giving them lifesteal or something of the sort, I think would be cool. Yeah. Skill has been changed to increase the defense reduction of psychic ground by 10. The skill effect has been applied. And then new hypers, telekinesis, number of hits. No more Psycho Break, Memers. Tornado flying object size. Increase attack speed based on the movement has been removed. The base attack speed has been increased. The skill description. Psycho Break cores have been changed to Psycho Ground 2 cores and their prefix have been changed. Okay, I don't. It's definitely in between. It's definitely a buff. I don't know if it's a large one, but I'd definitely say small buff here. And overall, Kinesis buffs are looking like at a 6 to 8% final damage increase plus more reliable damage because of quality of life changes. 6 to 8% plus more reliable output. That would consider. Oh, she's black. Okay. Okay. I had to look at the clip to know if this was okay. This person sounds white as fuck. I mean, I'm kind of colorblind though, but that I mean, people who live around more people from all over the place. This person sounds white as hell, right? I was liking like crazy right now on MapleStory. I had a few like spikes earlier. You're back on your drip. She loves her drip a lot. Okay, Adele. Damage change. Dude, Resonance already does if you hit one target already, it does really big damage numbers. But I guess that's because this is the number that actually gets put out. Then 502%, actually quite high. But that's because it doesn't hit as many lines as well. Cannot be cancelled for a period. Okay, you can't accidentally cancel your nobility. Action delay decrease on Blossom. That's nice because that acts weird sometimes. Cooldown for Grave Proclamation decrease from 90 seconds to 10. I like this a lot. This is really nice for Culvert when you have a lot of different bodies that are popping up. You can decrease the defense on all of them. Damage decrease from 800 to 220. Sure, that's fine. You had some bad spikes in the last 10 minutes as well? Okay. The feature of final damage being increased based on the number of enemies being attacked and removed. Damage increased from 500 to 2,000. Skills have been improved so that it cannot be cancelled for a period of... Okay. And then Storm has been improved so to consume only MP when cast. This skill has been improved to save buff freezers. The skill has been improved so that it cannot be cancelled for a certain period of time. Wait. Consume only MP when cast? Does that mean it doesn't consume your existing swords anymore? I think they mean only MP and no HP. Does it no longer consume your swords? They're not... They say improved Storm and Blossom's usability. I feel like when you use Storm, if it consumes your swords, it gives you like your swords pretty much back. Or like, it gives you like 2 out of 3 back, right? Okay, so this doesn't really seem like a buff. It's just a bunch of quality of life stuff. So neutral, I would say. This person sounds too much like Bad Baby, the singer. Ilium changes. Applic, translate. The first prioritizes the boss and monster with the highest HP. Crystal movement speed has been increased by about 100%. Okay, you could just say doubled. Skill now magic attack attacks a 20% chance to absorb 10% maximum MP. Damage reduction has been increased from 50% to 70%. So HP damage has been increased from 300% to 500%. Feature of final damage being increased based on the number of enemies is gone. Crystal Gate skills have been improved so that if the Crystal Gate disappears faster than its remaining duration, the cooldown will be decreased by 50% of the remaining duration. Oh! So if you fuck up the Crystal Gate placement, you'll get some kind of help out of that. Okay. And then Crystal Ignition, the key down duration has been decreased from 10 to 6 seconds and damage increased from 1400 to 2331%. Alright, so it can do all your bursts faster. That's nice. And its skills have been improved so that it could save by Buff Freezer and Soul Crystal. And then they kind of forgot to increase the reaction spectrum damage as well. But they did that. 1900 to 68%. Boom. Was the change? The change is because the duration went down from 10 seconds key down to 6. But yeah, these are big numbers. These are big numbers. Ilium small buff. Arc. If the enemy being targeted disappears, the spell will no longer immediately disappear. Pause champ. It's going to be improved so that you can float during, even during the up jump for instinct leaped. Pause champ. Inflict scar damage decreased from 170 to 150. What the fuck? Decreased? Not a happy camper. Skills improves so the enemy being targeted disappears that no longer immediately disappear on impending death. Damage decreased on unfulfilled hunger. Why? These skills are not like decreased Pepe point. Dude, 20% on 172. Like, that's a lot, dude. From 170 to 150, 20%. That's like 1.5. That's like, what is it? 11.5%. Final damage decrease on a skill? What the fuck? This is 20%. That's 1/16th. That's 6% final damage decrease. The final damage boost is decreased from 10 to 5%. Fuck! Skills when improves that you no longer collide with monsters when casting. Wow, whoop-de frickin' do. The duration has been increased from 5 seconds to 20 seconds on Battle Frenzy. Wow, thanks. Wasn't Unfending Scar your charge? That's our dash, and if used in the air, is a teleport. Yeah. But you use it to animation cancel, or you weave it in when you're bursting. The cooldown has been decreased from 200 to 120 seconds. The attack duration has been decreased by 40 seconds. Duration of a real power. So we've already established with Korea that this is actually a nerf, and actually a further nerf than they actually wanted it to be. And then Infinity Spell to 40 to 120. This is going to be a little bit... this is going to be interesting, but... and then the biggest change of all, the HP consumption decreased from 15% to only 8%. Man, I jumped ship from Arc into Demon Avenger. Arc. Demon Avenger. It's a dark day. It's going to be a dark update for me. Going from 20k culvert scores to probably like 8 to 17k culvert scores or some dumb shit like that. I'm hitting 10k on both of those guys now. It's not going to be good, but... You need to practice part 2 and 3 mechanics. Check !Hard Will. You'll find a bunch of links there where you can practice mini games that someone made on how the part 2, part 1, and part 3 for Will are, so you can walk around without having to go into practice mode, and you can already practice offline, basically. Well, not offline, but out of the game. Chickarao, as the One Piece character would say. Okay, cool. Lara changes. Damage reduction increased from 50 to 70%. Spirit Flow... Where the river flows Keck, nobody uses that shit. Slumber Awakening decreased from 11 to Keck, nobody uses that shit either. Area increased by about 67%, sure. Dragon Vein Conversion, I've never used that myself. Decreased from 7 to 4, sure. Ignore darkness and skill seal effects while it's active. Ooh, that's actually kind of based. Fix an issue where, because you don't really need to use it all the time to get reduced damage, but now you can use it to ignore darkness and skill seal as well. That's pretty cool. James map shooting skill, nobody cares. Improves it that the dragon veins are created a little closer to the character. Okay, I'm gonna be real. This does not really change how you play that character much at all. I wouldn't even call this a small buff. That seems pretty normal. We expect Arc will become too OP, therefore get fucked. Ho Young, oh yeah, always correct to prioritizes. Thank you, Google. Google Docs, very useful. Thank you. Very useful. Thank you. Thank you for including an option that does absolutely nothing. Feature with the damage being based on the number of enemies has been removed for a lot of stuff, and prioritizing highest HP. That's basically what all of this is. And then the bind is improved in the same way that as the Nightwalker bind, I hope. Right? It's a skill that binds several nearby enemies when used. The feature of the bind duration being based on the number of enemies being attacked has been removed. The bind duration has been increased from 8 seconds to 11 seconds. As base number, oh my god, 11 seconds. OP. It's gonna instantly fully charges your talisman energy and scroll energy when used. Is Kala here? Do we know that this instantly fills it one time and then has the same effect as it does now, where it like continuously keeps filling? Or does it just instantly fill it one time and then that's all it does? Because if it's the first one, that's pretty damn nice. If it's the second one, that's absolutely horrible, and it's a huge nerf compared to what it is now. It does continue? Okay, cool. Kala is Bedge. I mean, yeah, it's pretty late for him there, right? It's perm energy. The skill has been improved so that the God Strike prioritizes the boss monster with the highest HP. On these two things, I would call it small buff, honestly. Very small buff, but small buff. Hell yeah. Idea skill that allows no DF use. Oh, during the duration, you just have unlimited energy, so you just spam. Oh, right. Song is repeating. I was like, what the fuck? It's you. Ooh, that thing is not actually that great. 4 of 14. Anymore. All right, we got through 198 pages of memes. Fly. Cool beans. All right, the final results. Let's see. Adele, neutral. Angelic Buster, small buff. Aaron, small buff. Then we have Fire Poison, Ice Lightning, big nerfs, Arc, small nerf, Battle Mage, large nerf. They don't like the mages very much here, guys. Beast Tamer, no idea. Bishop, neutral, got some buffs, but has the Infinity nerf, so is maintaining. Good shit. Bishop stonks, holding steady. Blaster stock going up. Blaze Wizard stock going up as well. Bowmaster was not mentioned in anything. They're not touching it at all. Literally not being touched by anything. Sorry. Your flash jump is going to be slightly further. My bad. And the cooldown is going to get reduced on your teleport, but, you know, whatever. Buccaneer, neutral. Seeing some nerfs, seeing some buffs. Tweaking it up. Staying strong. Cadena stonks, way up. Invest in Cadena for Ignition. Cannoneer, small buff. Corsair, Dark Knight, staying where they are. They're in a good position. Dawn Warrior, small buff. Lots of changes. They're going to look a lot different. You're going to go into outer space now. You're going to be, what's it called again? Star-Lord. Demon Avenger, big nerf. Divest from Demon Avenger. Sell. Demon Slayer, bye. As always. If you made a Bossing Mule Demon Slayer, you're on the way up. Stop hyper buffing TS. Dual Blade, small buff. Evan, small buff. Hayata, we don't know. Hero, small buff. Lots of small buffs here for all these guys. Hoyoung, Ilium. I don't know about Jet. Kane, small buff. Kaiser, good buff. Solid. Kana, no info, of course. Kinesis looking really good. Lara, staying where it is. Luminous, small nerf. Getting tweaked a little bit later. Probably going towards neutral with the patch after that, but might have to wait a while for that. Marksman, small buff. Mechanic, small buff. Mercedes, small buff. Mihail, small buff. Nightlord staying where he is. A little bit of extra mobility with the dash, being able to use it during your skill. So depending on your gameplay, it might be buff. Might be pretty neutral depending on how you play it. Nightwalker looks like big buff. A lot of extra stuff going on. Paladin, small buff. Pathfinder, small buff. Phantom, small buff. Finally some Phantom love. Shade, don't know what that is, but it's getting a big nerf. I still have to figure out what Shade is. Maybe in the lore I can read something about this, but last time I checked the lore I didn't find any entries on Shade. Shadower staying where it is. Again, a little bit of extra utility on the backstab thing, the iframe. But depends on the gameplay if it's really going to impact you. Thunderbreaker, small buff. Towards a large buff. Not enough insight on my part to say whether it was one or the other. It might be large buff. I could be swayed either way, honestly. Wild Hunter, small buff. Also a sizable small buff, like intermediate buff, I would say. Wind Archer, intermediate to large buff. Xenon is staying roughly where it is. Some tweaks, some nerfs, some buffs staying roughly the same. And Zero, I think, considerable upgrades to a large buff, I would say. So that's where we are with the 49 classes after Ignition hits us. Again, these are changes that were divided over 3 different updates in Korea. So hopefully this will be all implemented in one go once Ignition goes live on November 16th. And that's what you guys can be looking forward to. If you guys want to check this out, this is under !classes in my commands in the stream, always available. And the class criterion and the ranking. Ranking is still outdated, wildly outdated. By the time I've updated it, Ignition will happen, and then I'll have to update it again, but we'll see. Class criterion shows what the criterion basically are dependent on, what those numbers basically mean. And the last column here is the expected changes in KMS. So that's basically the file that we've been running to. You You can always zoom out a little bit and then use the left-hand side here. As soon as one of these updates goes live, I take it out of the file, and as soon as a live server update comes to KMS, I will add it to the bottom of this file. So it's constantly kept up to date with all of this stuff, all of the skill changes that have already happened in Korea and that we don't have yet. And of course, some classes like Beast Tamer, Hayato, Kana, Jet will never be mentioned in there because it's all coming from Korea, and we won't really know what's coming there until we see something in either TMS or MapleStory or JMS. But that's usually very close to our update schedule, so no need to really look months into the future on that. All right, let me know if you agree, disagree, where you agree, disagree. I will be looking at the comment section very closely to see what you guys have, what kind of thoughts you guys have on all of the differences that we just went over, because it was so much. And yeah, let me know. And if you feel like you want a actual conversation about that, hit me up live when I'm streaming, twitch.tv/Carter. I'll be there. And we'll love to have a conversation about certain classes and changes, and you can get me some more insight on why you think something was even better than I said or not as good as I thought it would be. And yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.